Hey, welcome, buddy. I am in Discord. Hopefully, this is going to work. I haven't been in Discord for a while on this, and some things changed, and so I'm not sure if it's going to work properly. Let me know live chat if you can actually hear me. It doesn't look like my overlay is working. Let's fix. But if it's good enough for you guys out there, it's fine for me. I don't have to actually see who's talking, although I will work on that when other people come in here. I think Cheshire might join eventually. But can you guys hear me? And please let me know in the chat. That would be most appreciated. Appreciate it. Oh, working. Okay, fantastic. All right. So I am in the GDC Discord. If you want to pop on in, the link is out there somewhere. I think it's on the video, and I think I put it in the video. If not, well, you're gonna have to go on it. Now, you know what? I will do that right now because I do want people to say what they want to say and on, right? So I'm gonna put the Discord link in the video description right now, and we can start the show. Fun for the okay. Oh man, I'm telling you, invite, copy link. All right, so it's in the video description, and I'll put it in the live. All right. Yeah. By the way, Maki, I'm doing. I hope this is loud and clear because I just added a couple of filters on some audio stuff I was trying to figure out. So I changed the preamp setting a little bit, and then I put a compressor on, and then a noise gate filter. I think it's made a world of difference. I think it's actually took in the. I still can't talk, but I think it's taken the sound and equalized it such that I don't have that high dB, low dB back and forth that you get. What the compressor does is it kind of when it's low, it adds a little gain. When it's high, it kind of decreases a little. It kind of tends to equalize the gain rather than highs and lows of the pitch. So hopefully that'll work better. But anyways, while we're here, this is going to be a not long hangout. I know I always say that, but this happens to be the case because I will be watching That Time of the Month tonight on Cheshire Vic's channel. She's got Sweet Heathen on tonight, who I can't miss because then she'll like disown me and never talk to me, and that would suck. She's got Manya, Golden Unicorn on, and she's got The Serrated Kiss on, and they have a lot to talk about. And told them I will watch it. I really don't know the details of what they plan to say. They did not tell me, but I trust them. So I told him I would watch it. Anyways, so recently, as you guys may know, I have been slandered and basically liable by Matt Dillahunty for so long. It's gotten to the point where I've kind of ignored it. But when you tell a lie so many times about somebody and you continue to say it, that to me is the height of dishonesty, right? It wasn't like he wanted to be corrected on it. It wasn't like I didn't put an open letter to him, which I'm going to be reading here. Cheshire read it on her channel, but I made a very polite open letter, like I did with, Jimmy, Mr. Atheist. These are my conciliations to try to say, look, here's my positions, get them right, stop lying about me, which, of course, Jimmy Snow did. We know that by now that he did lie about the Non Sequitur show. He didn't have knowledge that Kyle and I were partners, and he did know that Kyle did not have authority to remove me to the show as he continued to stream to that channel. That was an outright lie. I wrote a letter to him saying, hey, this is what you need to do to kind of fix this. And he just blew that off. So I wrote something to Matt Dillahunty, which again, I know he's not going to read. I'm not an idiot, but I'm sure he's aware of it, right? And for anybody who's saying out there this is about clout, go fuck yourselves. Okay? First of all, Matt Dillahunty is not by any stretch of the imagination any big celebrity compared to who I've had on my channel. Especially the people that I've talked to that are far more educated in these topics than Matt Dillahunty. I have actual PhDs on my topic that we have great conversations on. Okay? So this is not clout chasing. I don't want to debate him. I've never asked to debate him. I've never wanted to debate him. Anybody who's ever said, hey, Steve, says he wants to debate him is lying. That has never happened. I have no desire to debate somebody who's dishonest. I try to debate people that I think I can change their positions or at least explain to the audience why they're wrong. And I expect honest interlocutors to do that. This is why I debated Wayne Fillmore, honest interlocutor. And what happened? He changed his position. He left young earth creationism. Right? Because I thought I can get through to him, and I did. I debated, I make one exception here. I did debate true empiricism, which obviously I think most people would agree is probably not an honest interlocutor, but I was sick of his crap, and I wanted to decimate him, which I did. That video is no longer available because it was deleted, unfortunately, by Sentinel Apologetics, a.k.a. General Han Solo. It was an accident, from what I understand. I don't know how that's possible, whatever. But I thoroughly kind of eviscerated him when I gave two presentations, one on ATP synthase and one on turbine theory and relating them and showing the dissimilarities between them. Yeah, I'm not showing up in the Discord. I know. I don't know why. I I am in the Discord. Oh, yeah, I'm in Member's Voice. Oh, I know why. There we go. Now, you know what? Thank you, Mangold. I didn't have mute off. So the outside can hear me, but the inside, like the people in the Discord with me, now you guys can hear me. I do apologize. I am the live members only. There's like 200 some odd people online right now. Knock yourselves out, guys. All right. So, anyways, I did have that with true empiricism, and if you guys remember, if you guys watch it again, I can't demonstrate this because the no longer around. But those who watched it remember he got destroyed so much that he left during the Q&A. He said, "I don't want to continue," and I said, "That's fine. I respect that." And you guys, because he got annihilated. But the other time I did a debate with like Stated Clearly on DNA is code. I think Stated Clearly is a very rational and has integrity. So I wanted to debate him on that. And I debated, well, I thought the Duke did at the time. When I debated the Duke on the Monday debate, I thought he was going to be honest. I really did. I was really, really nice to him during that whole debate. Come to find out later, he was not an honest interlocutor. And for a year now, he's been just trying to change the entire narrative, obviously. Snake was a little bit of an exception the other night. I know Snake was a little slanderous, but he really thought that he could show that I was wrong on something. And I said, you know what? If I can't convince him, maybe I can convince other people that when him telling me that he can show that I'm wrong is not the case. So, anyways, so I wrote a letter to Matt Dillahunty. I'll be writing here, and again, it wasn't really directed to him. It was more along the lines of, I guess, to the people that are listening to all these things, right? I don't have a big platform compared to Matt Dillahunty, nor will I ever have a big platform. I had a bigger one, obviously, with the Non Sequitur show, 33,000 subscribers, making $5,000 a month. But that's no longer the case because we had a dishonest person in the community who stole all the money. And I mean stole all the money. This has been demonstrated in a court of law that this person has committed fraud and the money is no longer theirs, supposedly, to the person. Although I don't know who this person is. I didn't mean to accidentally. I didn't mean to do that. Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry about that. That was an accident. It happens. I thought it was somebody else, so my bad. I fixed. Okay. Anyways, so long story short, that I wrote this letter, and I didn't expect again for him to read it, but he just passed the buck to no end. He has never addressed my arguments. Let me make this very clear. Matt Dillahunty has never addressed my arguments. Ever. He went on Seth Andrews' program, didn't address my arguments. He went on Atheist Edge, didn't address my arguments. He has never once, ever, that I have seen him address my arguments. Right? And that's fine. He doesn't have to. No, he is under no obligation to do so. No onus whatsoever. But what happens is this. The more people do not address my arguments, the more I can talk about them and explain to people that want to listen. Right? The people that want to learn this stuff, they can actually learn from it. And those are the people that I'm trying to get through. Those are the people that I'm trying to talk about these topics with and have interesting conversations with. And talk about the substantive things and not starting to have to go back to square one every single time. Right? We're way past the square one stuff. And so I have a threshold now that I have invoked that when it's the white noise, like when I'm in a group on Facebook, when it's white noise, is somebody who's just throwing the most basic stuff out there, I just block them or ignore them. Usually I block because I'm done with it. Those are not the people I want to have conversations with, right? Matt Dillahunty blocked me, which is fine. He blocked me years ago. But he's continued to lie about me. Outright lie about me. Let me make this very clear. Matt Dillahunty, I am not a prescriptivist. I have never been a prescriptivist. I am a descriptivist, and if you ever bothered to properly learn my arguments, you would know this. And because you haven't, you've lied about me continually. And people are going to call you out for this. This is why I don't mind if you don't address it, because the people that do know this for a fact will continue to address it on different platforms. Right? So, one sec. I'm having a... yeah, hey, Mr. Serious, I saw you pop in here. Didn't mean to ignore you.
Oh yeah, no biggie. I was just waiting for you to conclude your thought.
All right, so let me get to the crux of the matter. So, anyways, what's funny is Matt Dillahunty actually deferred to one of the biggest trolls in the community, somebody who's actually harmed my friends, and that Alex Malpass, who's a logistician, PhD in logic, has basically said he was completely inept in this topic, and Bert Poole, who has said is inept in this topic, and so Matt Dillahunty defers to somebody who's inept in logic as a defeater to me when I cite actual PhDs in logic. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm right. Again, this is another thing that Matt Dillahunty lies about. He says, Steve says experts agree with him, therefore he is right. That has never happened. That is a logical fallacy called argumentium ad verecundium, or a field of authority. Never done that in my life. Ever. So, by the way, if you can't show evidence for this stuff, then I'm just going to say you're lying at this point. The principle of charity is gone. It's absolutely gone. I no longer have principle of charity for people to make accusations that I've done something where they don't have the evidence to back it up, right? And no, I'm not going to let it go. The reason I'm not going to let it go is because he has a large platform where he has made it very difficult for people that want to learn these things to do so, because his ego is bigger than his education. His ego is bigger than what he knows about this topic. That he has continued to try to vilify me and say that I don't understand these topics, that I'm not correct. Okay, demonstrate it. That's all you got to do. Demonstrate my logic's wrong. Do you know how many times I've seen Matt Dillahunty actually talk about logic? Never. He'll say something stupid like, okay, yeah, you believe it, you don't believe. Well, we all know that. What's the argument? Okay, great. But then he'll say there's no middle ground between belief and disbelief. Okay, great. There is a middle ground between belief and disbelief. Correct. There is a middle ground to be had there. I made another blog called Gumballs and God, which we'll get into maybe next time, I guess. But anyways, what do you guys think about this? You guys are filling up in the Discord here. I'm a little sick of this. Why does this guy, because of his stature in the atheist community, get away with lying about people, and his own people don't call him out on it? I'm not a theist. I'm not a God believer. I'm not a young earth creationist. I am a person who likes epistemology and studies these topics on my own to educate myself and then talk about them. And he dismisses me by fiat that I'm wrong, but never demonstrates that I am. Why?
Well, okay. First of all, I am critical of Matt Dillahunty, but I am also I'm
sorry, you're also what? You got cut off.
Oh, sorry. Let me plug my microphone. But let me talk real close.
You're chopping. So.
Hold on.
Got time.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
I was saying I'm a huge Matt Dillahunty fan, but I am also critical of him, and he's definitely said some things that don't make sense. But he's not. I don't think going to say that he's perfect.
That's not the point, though. He's actively lying about me now. Actively, he's never addressed my arguments. You do agree with that? Has anybody ever seen him address my actual arguments, my special pleading arguments, my logical arguments?
I've watched everything on the internet with Matt Dillahunty, and I've never heard your name mentioned.
Oh, he mentions my name. He mentioned me on Twitch the other day. He uses little.
Well, I don't watch Twitch. I watch all the recorded stuff. I don't watch him playing games or anything like that.
Yeah, well, he like I said, he refers to me by other things sometimes. He mentioned my name on Twitch no, it was 2 days ago. And by the way, can my mods give people empowerment to come in? Just come into the Discord. If you don't have the member, then go to the waiting room, and then one of my mods will give you power to come in. VIP. Yeah.
Okay, so, I can do that.
I have all these arguments, and by the way, he doesn't have to. Again, I want to make it very clear. He has no onus to. But as long as they don't, as long as he and R never talk about me or my arguments, I'm fine with that. This gives me the ability to talk about them with people that want to understand them and have become better at debating theists because of it, right?
Well, this is my opinion on what Matt does, and this is why I think that you're kind of an impasse. And I think that he's got a lot of confusion. There's no middle ground when it comes to what can possibly be true. Like, there either is a God or there's not. There is no third option. But when it comes to beliefs, there happens to be maybe even more than three options.
Yeah, well, I think he knows this. See, I don't think for a second that Matt Dillahunty's stupid. He said, "Well, Steve may think that I'm stupid." I've never said that. I don't think for a second he's stupid in these topics. What I think he's deliberately misleading people. I think he's deceptive. I think he's using his old techniques of being a preacher and being lying by omission, with these things, because he has never once said, hey, when it comes to philosophy and it comes to epistemology and this particular topic, Steve is actually correct. Never once. But everybody who knows these topics has said that. Why is that? They've all said he's wrong. I don't think
he knows the topics.
I think he does. I'm going to give him some credit. This is, again, my principle of charity is gone, but I've listened to him enough. He knows the topics when he wants to know this topic, right? And you're right.
I think he can parrot things well, probably, but I think that if he constantly gets this wrong every time, not only does he not know the topics, but I don't even think he wants to.
Well, I'm going to be a little bit more forgiving. I get it. But, okay, but you're right on this, though. When I wrote the Gumballs and God blog, it was to show a misuse of this particular analogy that he likes to use about gumballs. I'm not going to read that at the time. I'm going to read it on air later on, okay, and go through it, because I put it out in multiple Facebook groups, and it's funny because the theist groups go, yeah, this is great, but the atheist community of Austin group, the experience goes, oh, this is just tripe. I'm like, well, what is it wrong? Well, it's not wrong. I get nothing but, yeah, okay, your logic is correct, Steve. Or people that say that it's wrong and then they can't demonstrate it. But the ones that know logic go, yeah, I don't see a problem with your logic. Then I'm like, okay, then what's the argument? But you're right. If I say you either believe or you don't believe, okay, great. But if I say that you believe it's true or believe it's false, there's a middle ground to be had there. That's the whole gumball analogy. Now, the whole gumball is used properly to say, look, if I don't accept that they're even, that doesn't necessarily mean by entailment that I think that they're odd. Is everybody agreeing with that? That's the base thing for the whole gumball thing. If you don't agree they're even, it doesn't necessitate that you must believe that they're odd. Would you agree, Mr. Sirius?
I mean, yeah, that's the only thing that makes sense. But before you continue, I gave everybody roles in the waiting room. Do I have to drag them in here, or can they come in here on their own volition?
If they don't know how.
Okay.
All right, so that's obviously a truism, right? You don't have to accept odd. But now, what happens if you don't accept odd? And you don't accept even? Right? You don't accept that there's a position either way on the gumballs. That is agnostic on the proposition. It has nothing to do with knowledge. That is being agnostic, that you don't have a position either way. That's how I use these terms. That's how SEP uses these terms. That is how almost all of academia uses these terms. Now, if they don't want to use the terms that way, I'm not saying they have to. That is prescriptivism. They could use whatever terms they want. But to ignore how these terms are used in the academic field is nonsensical to me. It defeats the purpose of education. Why would you go to college to learn something to have Matt Dillahunty say, oh, that's not the way it is? Come on, that's bullshit, right? And so when people are saying there's no middle ground, they're talking about no middle ground between belief and disbelief. Belief and unbelief, or even or odd. There's no middle ground between God existing or God not existing, right? Period. But there is a middle ground to be had for the belief of those two things, and he conflates those. And when people tell him, "Hey,
I do not agree.
You don't
completely
agree?
Disagree.
What is it you don't agree?
No, I completely disagree.
All right, go for it. Where did I just?
You either believe or you do not believe.
We just said that.
There's the only two.
First thing I said.
The only two options.
No, you can believe it's false.
Deal and absolute.
I believe it's true, or I believe it's false, are also options, right? But if I believe it's false, it's entailing you don't believe.
No, you
That's
either
not true?
believe or you do not believe.
But if you
Those are the only two options.
Let me try to explain this.
I must have missed something.
Yeah, you think you are.
There's lots of different positive belief claims you can make on this single subject. It's not only do you believe or not believe, for one prong. Now, when you go to the next prong, you can also not believe or not believe that prong too.
Yes.
So if I say,
right.
I believe in gods, or I disbelieve in gods, well, then here's another prong. Do I believe in not gods?
Right. Same thing.
Different
two prongs.
prong.
You have the negation and the proposition, right? The proposition and the negation. So X, let me write by this way. This is really simple. I know I can explain this way.
You guys
really
are kind of talking over me here. I mean, talking intellectually over me, not physically.
Well, I want to do that. I want to bring it down, and I will make it.
Yeah, because I'm kind of a simple-minded
fine.
folk here.
If the claim is that the gumballs are even, okay, we did do it systematically. This is what I tried doing with Snake last night. I wanted to kind of do systematic questioning, but he didn't even know enough to do that. So.
Because I've never heard any sort of opposition to the gumball analogy. It makes perfect sense to me.
Well,
I really am interested in this.
This isn't an opposition to it. There's a misuse that people have for it. This is not an opposition to it.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. I'm very interested. Go ahead.
All right. So X, this is what I like. I want somebody to be able to understand this. So if I make the claim that the gumballs are even, and we're going to assume that they're quantized, we're assuming that they're a natural number, we're assuming that there's a fact of the matter to be had there, right? But if I say they're even, and you have no way to determine either way, I would think it's rational to say I don't affirm that proposition. Would you agree with that?
What if I don't
Here's a funny story, like 2 seconds. I asked my parents the same question, and they said, "Oh, I believe you just because I trust you."
Okay, well, let's not get into that. Okay,
anyway, that was just kind of funny. Anyway, but yeah, no, the obvious.
But then you have a
the question the answer that you're looking for is no. I would not accept that.
By the way, you have a reason
no
to
reason
believe
to.
it because you trust your parents, right? So you're justifying it based on what they're.
They said they trust me, but besides the point. But the answer to your question is no. I would not believe you.
Parents trust me. Parents say they're.
No, I would not believe you. I don't have any reason to believe you.
Right. So you don't believe that they're even. So it's one of two cases. It is the fact that you don't believe me because you do think that they're odd, or is the case that you don't believe me because you don't think they're even or odd. Right? You have no belief either way. It'll be one of those two cases.
Which stems from the answer of no, I do not believe.
Okay, no, you don't believe means you just don't hold that they're even. If you don't hold that they're even, it's because of one of two things. You hold that they're odd, or you have no belief either way. Both of those are non-belief cases.
Hold on a second. Yeah.
Question in the general chat.
But yeah, I do not believe it's the.
Right, because you don't believe, does that mean you have to hold that they're odd?
No, that's the whole point of the gumball analogy.
Right, that's what the gumball analogy is trying to show. But if you don't hold that they're odd and you don't hold that they're even, that means you have no position either way on that, right?
Correct.
That's the middle ground.
Well. That's a different position than are they even?
Are they even is either they are or
they
they
even
are not.
is yes or no.
But,
now you're saying
are
they even or odd? That's another question.
Right. Well, they are either even or odd. But what is your belief on that? What your beliefs are not dichotomous, right? You can believe that they're even, or you can believe that they're odd. But if you believe that they're odd, you don't believe that they're even.
Do I believe they are even or odd? Yes.
Well, no, you know that. Of course, you believe they're even or odd. They got to be their natural number, right?
I'm still kind of not understanding the whole point.
Natural number.
Okay.
So go ahead. Yeah, we kind of reiterated the gumball analogy.
There has to be a number that is either even or odd, right? There's either an even number or an odd number. That is a dichotomy.
I guess, yeah.
Right?
Sure.
Okay.
I guess, yeah.
If it is the case that you do not believe that they're even, that could be because you hold that they're odd. And if you hold that they're odd, it clearly means you don't hold that they're even. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. Now, if it is not the case that you don't hold that they're odd, and it's not the case you don't hold that they're even, then you don't have a position either way. You hold to neither. Right? You don't believe they're even and you don't believe they're odd. You have no position on it. Right now, if I have a jar of gumballs and I say, what are they, even or odd? You're like, I have no position on that.
Yes.
Okay. That's agnostic. That is the middle ground.
Your position is you do not believe. Simple.
Right, but you don't believe either way.
You do not believe.
Right? It is you believe or you don't believe, but you don't believe either way. Which is
you do
agnostic,
not believe.
Which is agnostic. Agnostics do not believe. All agnostics do not believe, right? So when you say I'm agnostic on the gumballs, you're in the do not believe category. Okay, so you do get it now. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't believe.
So what are you disagreeing about? You said you disagreed.
I'm still waiting for your whole argument here. I mean, you either believe or you don't.
Right. If you don't believe, that's the third position right here when it comes to the between the.
No, you either believe or you do not. It's yes or no.
Listen to me. You're confusing the middle ground here. Do you hold the belief that they're even?
Must be. No.
Do you hold the belief that they're odd?
No.
So you do not believe.
That's two separate questions.
Right, because one is entailed by the other. One's a negation of the other. Right. That is the middle ground of belief. You don't hold a belief that's true.
No, they're separate questions.
X, listen to me here. You're just going off in left field here.
Okay.
When you have a proposition is either true or false. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Gotcha there. Yep.
If the proposition is given, the gumballs are even, that proposition is either true or false. If you assign it true, you think it's even. If you think it's false, you think they're odd, right?
No.
Yes.
Well, we're talking about belief.
No, listen to me very carefully. When you have a proposition, if you think the proposition is true, you're saying that it is the case. Even if you say it's false, you're saying it is not the case, and you're affirming the negation, which is the proposition that it is odd, not even. Not even is odd, right? So if you say
Wait, hold on. Can you just repeat that?
sure,
You kind of talk a little bit too.
I know I got to slow down.
A little too fast. So
I
just
apologize. All right, so
just I'm
if you
up
have the
with you till that.
proposition, the gumballs are even. If that proposition is true, then you're affirming.
Now, are we talking about belief or knowledge?
belief. Don't even mention the word knowledge.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha.
Nothing to do with
Okay.
knowledge. If
Okay.
you believe
Those
that
are
the
the technical
gumballs are
reactions
even,
and
you would say the
knowledge.
proposition is true.
If I believe the proposition is true, okay.
You would say the gumballs are even.
Yes, I would agree with that proposition
Awesome,
or
awesome.
whatever.
If you say the proposition is false, what does that mean?
That means I'm claiming that it's not.
Even,
That means
right?
I'm making a claim that it is not.
Even.
Yeah, that it's
Right.
that it's even or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's
The
not even.
opposite.
You're making,
Yeah.
the opposite. So
I'm
what is
making
what is
I'm
not
making
even?
a claim.
Not even would be the same as odd, right? Clearly, if it's not even, it has to be odd. It's
Wait,
dichotomous.
hold on a second. Hold on. Say that again.
Not even has to be odd. They're the same thing, right? You only have two states. For any natural number,
Yeah.
it has to fall
Yeah.
within even or odd. There are no exceptions.
Yeah.
So if it's not even, that means it's odd.
No. Well, yes.
thank you.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
All
That's
right,
correct.
so if you
Yeah,
think the
that's correct.
proposition is false, you're asserting that the gumballs are odd.
No.
Oh, I think I see
Yes.
what you're saying now.
Yes.
Yes, this is
Well,
logic 101.
well, okay. Yeah. Well, the thing is that, I agree.
All right, awesome.
So what is the problem
Well,
here?
I'm going to explain
I-
it now. Now we're making some
Is there
progress
something
here.
I said before?
Well, you said
You're
it
making
did-
complete
you
sense.
said I was wrong, and I'm not sure what I'm wrong about. So you now established here we are now.
I'm saying there is no middle ground.
I'm showing you
you
the
either
middle
believe or
ground.
you do not.
Dude, there's a middle ground. I'm showing you the middle ground right now.
Well, I was just reiterating what I was saying to make sure
If-
we're still on topic.
All right, we are. The proposition could be true, or the
Okay, go
proposition could
ahead.
be false, right? As we agreed. True, even, false, odd, right?
Well,
Agree?
it has to be true or false.
Okay.
Uh,
What is your belief on it? Is it true or false?
I don't have a belief.
There you go. That's the middle ground.
Yeah.
Your belief is the middle ground because you don't believe it's true and you don't believe it's false. You have no belief either way. That is the middle
No.
ground. Oh, this is logically
No,
right. I assure you this.
Okay.
This I'm telling you right now.
Well,
And ask any professional logician. This is 100% correct. Basic logic. If I don't have a position on it, I don't have a belief on either one.
okay,
But-
so being agnostic, and so you're saying basically there's either three choices you could have. You could either say it's true, you could say it's false, or you don't have a belief.
Right, and by the way, that very good. That is called three epistemic statuses. That's belief, disbelief, and suspending a judgment. Right? So I believe
Well,
the proposition is true.
What?
I disbelieve the proposition is true, which means I believe it's false. Or I have a suspend judgment. I have no belief either way. That's the agnostic position. That is the middle ground. The third position.
Well, that's I mean, I think that saying that it's false or whatever is it's a completely different argument.
Well, it's an argument.
You
Well,
either believe.
if you don't believe, that doesn't mean you're saying that it's false. It
Okay.
could, but that's not what it entails.
Yes. Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say. Yes. That's something to think about. I mean,
Yeah.
it's planting
It's hard to wrap
seeds.
your head around when
You're
you're
planting
out- yeah,
seeds.
I get
You're
it,
planting
I get it.
seeds.
Dude, I do this daily. I mean, I've got this down to an art
because
form, right? I mean,
you-
so I
you know
I get
what?
it.
Okay, here's a good thing to think about. Maybe we could talk about this. And it's kind of been a little like a pet peeve for me.
Sure.
Is are you guys familiar with the Talk Heathen show?
Yeah, I'm pretty good friends with Eric Murphy.
Okay, so at the end of the show, they say something like, for people who believe we don't hate you, we just think that you're wrong.
Yeah.
They're claiming that they are wrong.
Yeah, they're strong
that
atheists.
there is no God.
Yes, I agree with you.
And but that's not what they say on the show. They always say on the show, we're not saying that there's no God.
Yeah, I know they hide the
We're
ball.
saying we don't believe that
You're
there is
exactly
none.
right. This has been an argument
but
that I've
then
had for years.
when they end the show, they say the exact opposite every time.
dude.
And I asked that question in the chat with the live Q&A after they do the show, and my question was skipped.
Because X.
And they were like, "Oh, we don't have enough time for your question." And I was like, "Well, why?"
All of them. All of the people in the ACA hide the ball. It is a word game. And by the way, well, hang on. I will be on
That's
the place.
bullshit.
Listen to me. I will be on the place, NGC Studios, okay, on the 29th of this month with Dr. Michael Jones, who is a linguist. And we are going to be discussing prescriptivism and descriptivism. We're going to touch a little bit on speech act. We're going to do another episode on speech act theory because one of my arguments involves an astroturgic force for an assertion that the American atheist made. And I'm going to be talking to a PhD in linguistics about this, who happens to agree with me and you that ACA is hiding the ball and playing word games. Okay? And I like Dr. Jones a lot.
Well, I mean, I would like to know more about that.
Yes. So you're not
and I would
alone on
love
that.
to hear that,
100%.
but that's the only example that I've ever noticed.
Yeah, you can't say this. You can't say there are no gods and then say, hey, why do you believe that? Oh, I just merely lack a belief. That's what they do. And when you say, look, we think you're wrong, you are saying it is the case that the proposition's false.
That there is, yes, exactly. And I pointed that out in the live Q&A, and they skipped my question. And I was like, why did you skip my question? And they were like, oh, we don't have enough time. We don't have enough time to answer everybody's question. I'm like, yeah, but you're going to sit there and answer questions after mine for 20 minutes after?
Look, I know Eric, and I know Eric. I've talked to Eric many times, and I even had
I was like, are you serious? I thought you guys were supposed to be honest.
No, this is what they would say.
But yeah.
I'm not going to speak for Eric, but I'm going to guess. I'm going to guess here. If I ask Eric this question, well, I'm going to bring it up to him. But if I ask Eric this question, he'll be like, well, we're not philosophers. We're not trying to be philosophically accurate. We're trying to just explain to these things and get more people to use the word atheist. That's probably what he's going to say. I could be wrong on that, and if I am, I will retract that. But that is what I've gotten from other atheists. When I've brought something similar up, they go, we don't care. We're not in a philosophical class. They're inconsistent. Ouch. Damn.
Wind tunnel?
Sorry,
Wind stuff, man.
Yeah, that's ouch. Stop. All right. Get out of the wind.
Sorry, I'm outside.
Yeah. All right. So I think you understand now that the belief, the middle ground isn't between God existing and God not existing. It is believing either way. It is, I don't have a position either way. I don't believe it's true. I don't believe it's false. The belief is the position that is in the middle, right? And so I put this in my blog with the Gumballs and God. And yet, everybody who's reviewed it,
I want to read that. I want to read that. Is that something that I could just Google, or could you kindly just please link that to me, because I'd love to read it.
Yeah, go to www.greatcommunity.com. Look under Gumballs, or you can just look in the. I'll put it in the live chat. If you check it out. But you know, so funny.
Did you create this server?
I own the domain.
Oh, because I was in here with another guy, and I was like, I had a debate with Steve McRae. I was like, do you know him? And he just left. You do remember I had a debate with you like 3 weeks ago?
I remember talking to you. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I wasn't really all there, but
you were high as fuck. But anyways, so I want people to understand that my arguments, to anybody that knows these topics, they're gonna pretty much agree with it. I've never met a philosopher that has it. And again, Matt Dillahunty just stupidly goes, well, Steve's just appealing to authority. Look, when you cite legit experts, that gives you some credibility that what you're saying might be the case. It doesn't mean it is the case. It doesn't mean that, I will never say it is true because Dr. Malpass, Dr. Oppie, Dr. Jackson, Dr. Smart, Dr. Malik, I can name off dozens of PhDs that I've read, many of them I know personally, that agree with me. And yet he cites somebody who gets basic logic wrong. Does somebody not understand there's a problem to be had here? If this was science, if this was me talking about the age of the earth, and I cited actual experts about the age of the earth, and he cites me somebody who thinks the earth is 6,000 years old because reasons, people would be all over his ass. Why is philosophy any goddamn difference? It shouldn't be.
Well, it's not, and there are people who treat it as a religion. There are people who take Matt Dillahunty as what he says is gospel.
Yes, I agree with you. It's dogmatic.
There are people who are just completely on the opposite spectrum of the religious belief.
Yeah, it's dogmatic.
But they're the opposite way. They're just exactly.
It's a cult of personality. They agree with Matt Dillahunty because they agree with him because reasons. They can't explain why he's right. They can't explain why I'm wrong. And he'll agree with anybody that will suck him off. Anybody who strokes him. Look, I've had Matt Dillahunty on my show before, right on the Non Sequitur show, and I asked him point blank about agnostic atheism. Do you think that is nonsensical in the weak case? He's like, yes. He made a video talking about it with Anthony Magnabosco. Yes. Did he ever give me credit and say Steve was right about that? No. What he said a couple days ago, he didn't say me personally, but he said hard agnostics, which is not me. But he says where the hard agnostic gets it right is that Gnostic atheist in the strong case is nonsensical. I've been saying that for years now. Okay, so I mean, he may come around eventually and say that it's true, but he won't ever give me credit. He won't say Steve's right about this. He won't even mention my name and say Steve's right about anything. But when he says I'm wrong about, he won't explain why. He never explains what the hell I'm wrong about. If I'm wrong on something, hey, why can't these experts tell me? Why I had Dr. Josh Rasmussen on for philosophy. He couldn't explain what I was wrong on because he didn't think I was wrong on anything, you know? At least on this topic, right? I mean,
even though I probably know the answer on this, I would love to hear you call the show and have this conversation because I'm wondering.
That's not going to happen. Look, why would I call the show?
Is this conversation having like over Twitch chat, or I mean, like what is like? I'd love to read more into this, but I'd love to read more into this, but it seems like I'm wondering where this conversation's happening.
X, why would I call on the show? What good would that do? Well, he has dominion, and he controls the narrative. He hangs up on people.
That's true.
And look, he gets my position wrong. He lies about me.
That is so true.
Why can't he man the fuck up and admit that he's been wrong, and then say, Steve, I want to know your actual positions? He would have to come to me to be an honest interlocutor. I would never fucking debate somebody like Matt Dillahunty because he's been dishonest over and over and over again, at least when it comes to me. Now, I think he has a lot of good arguments when it comes to debating theists. Don't get me wrong. But hang on one sec. I watched him have a debate with Dr. Todd Wood not too long ago, a modern day debate. He was passive. He was playing with his phone. He was dismissive. And I'm not a big fan of Wood. Don't get me wrong, by any stretch of the imagination. But Matt Dillahunty was disrespectful as all fuck about what Wood was saying. He has done the same thing to me and been dismissive rather than address what is being argued. That is the whole point of these communities, to talk about these things. But when he has something that he cannot defeat, that he cannot have a rejoinder for, that he could not show any evidence for, he blocks it and hangs up on that person. That is what people call the Dillahunty dodge. And I didn't know what they meant by it years ago.
The Dillahunty dodge.
I know what they mean by it now. I get it. I didn't know years ago what the hell they meant by it.
I definitely can see that. Yeah. Trust me, I'm the biggest Matt Dillahunty fan ever.
He does dodge. I've seen him do it with calls.
But he does do that, you know. But I'm critical of all these people. He does do that in the debates and stuff.
And we should be working together. If the motherfucker actually, wanted to work together, he should be like, hey, Steve and I are fighting for the same fucking things, for rational thought and logic, and fighting against creationism. But the fact that I call out of his shit when he's wrong, oh, God forbid, Steve McCray, who the fuck is he? He worked for Kohl's. Why does it matter what he says? Well, it doesn't matter what I say, except when I can prove it using fucking logic. That's what I don't get. I can prove what I'm saying, not just assert it. I can prove it using modus tonans and modus opponents and other rules of inference and disjunctive syllogisms and whatever it takes. I can prove it using logic that what I've said, it makes a logical argument. He hasn't addressed it. He just says, oh, it's wrong. Steve's wrong. Because he can get away with that shit.
Yeah.
Enough.
They have their own biases. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think it's he's purposely lying, or he is actually thinking that he's thinking that he's correct?
As of last week, I think he's purposely lying.
Or do you think he's purposely telling things that he knows is a lie?
Well, a couple days ago, when he said language was I was language's bitch, and when I misrepresented my position and kept calling me prescriptivist, even though he knows I'm not, I no longer have principle of charity. I thought he was just, confused before, maybe, about my arguments. No, I think he has deliberately lied about my arguments in order to discredit me, in order to character assassinate me, and that's fine. The reason why I will backfire on him, because if he doesn't address my arguments, which I don't expect him to ever do, I am free reign to talk about what the fuck I want and have people listen to me, and those are the people that stick around my channel. Those people go, oh shit, hey, you know what? Steve is fucking right on this. You know why? Not because I like Steve. Steve's a son of a bitch. He could fucking burn in hell for all I care, but I can go verify what he said is true. That's the difference.
I'm not go that far. You're a pretty good guy.
Whatever, I get. I do. I get. Firsthand, I get fucking people shit talking. You should talk about me too.
Me?
Don't you? I mean, everybody should talk to me. I don't care about that. But you see it. I know you've seen it firsthand, right? I mean, I don't mind if people shit talk me, but I'm just saying, it's like, fuck, man. Have you ever seen him get it right, dude?
I have it.
No.
He has it. That's why. Yeah, exactly.
Well, Matt.
By the way, Ayers,
Matt-
your mic is really low, dude. I can kick you up if I need to, but if you can do it yourself, dude.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Yeah, that way
By the
everybody
way, I
doesn't have
shit
to do
talking,
it.
kidding. Like,
Shit talk, we were kidding. I don't care.
Well, the problem I see with Matt is he knows experts who, like, for example, Malpass as well as Ozzy.
yeah, so do I.
So-
And Malpass and Ozzy agree with me on this, and he well knows it.
So yeah, he knows the issues here. Because I think they've called him out on a few
Yes.
things about it.
But that's fine when they call him out, right? He doesn't shut them down. But when I say the same thing that they say, and they're like, "Oh, then Steve's wrong."
He just goes on like a beating drum or like the Energizer Bunny.
But isn't that dishonest? Ozzy's explained to him these things before. Ozzy has in videos explained to him these things before, and yet he doesn't, throw Ozzy under the bus because he respects Ozzy. I don't think he gives a shit about me. I know he doesn't. He doesn't have to respect me. But if I'm using the same arguments, although I am actually formulating them better than Ozzy does because Ozzy doesn't really bother with that. He doesn't have to. But I don't get it why he just thinks that Ozzy and Malpass, sure, they're respectable, but Steve, screw him because I don't have a PhD. Screw that. I've never argued anybody has to have a PhD or have an education on these topics.
Yeah.
I go by arguments.
You don't need a
merits.
PhD in philosophy.
What I do say is, look, if you have the experts agreeing with you, you're more likely the case to be correct. I think that is a fair argument to be had. It's more likely, but does not mean that you are.
More likely, yeah.
I think it's mainly. I think it's because you're mainly. Well, not mainly. You're addressing the entire audience, just in general. But it's also it's also affect your, like what you're stating. It's also catching attention of particularly the fan base that circles around him and other figures.
That's true, but they're not my look. I don't give a fuck about their fan base. I honest to God don't. Okay, I mean I have my own people that I have around for many years. I have people that still come around for 8 years. Right?
It's a cult of ACA.
It's a cult of ACA, right? And that, by the way, what happens? What happens when you have a fracture with that? Look what happens every time the ACA fractures. Matt Dillahunty is not well liked over there. I mean, he doesn't get along with anybody over there hardly. And I know people that know him very personally. He is an egotistical, arrogant son of a bitch. He'll admit that. He doesn't even try to hide that. He's smug and arrogant. And then he tries to project that into the people, right? Now, I don't give a shit about that. What I give a shit about is when you're smug and you're arrogant and you're wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because how many times has Matt Dillahunty said, "Oh, you must be an atheist or theist," and then I say, "Wait a minute here. That is not a metaphysical necessity. That is a dichotomous relationship that you make artificially."
That's
right?
true, though, right?
No, it's not true.
It's not true.
Of course, it's not true.
So
let me finish. So he makes an artificial dichotomy that's saying, "Look, theist or chicken." You're not a theist, you're a chicken. Sure, that's a dichotomy if you make it limited to those disjunctions, right? So when you say you must be theist or atheist, sure, you're narrowing it down to those two things. You're creating an artificial disjunction there because it's just semantics at that point. You cannot logically get to theist and atheist from first principles using law of non-contradiction. You cannot do it. If you can, show me. I mean, we've got logisticians in the audience. They can't do it. But you can get to theist or not theist. Now, what you call theist after that or not theist after that is your business, right? But to say that you must be a theist or atheist requires a metaphysical necessity that it must be true in all possible worlds, right?
now, when you say, are you talking about hard atheism?
What do you mean?
Like you believe that there is no God, or like?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
you don't have to,
convinced.
yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah, that's what you're asking. Okay,
question
so
Okay.
yeah, you don't
Yeah,
have to be
yeah.
you
Okay.
don't have to be a theist that believes there's God. You don't have to be an atheist that believes there's no gods. There
Yeah,
are
I
other
don't
positions.
think he ever uses that term
Well,
as
no,
that
because
way.
what he does is he forces people to use his dictionary definitions, right? He's a prescriptivist, not me. He says these are how we use it. American Atheist says on their webpage, atheism is one thing, a lack of belief in gods. And by the way, that is one thing that I'll be talking about on The Place on the 29th with an actual PhD in linguistics, because I am going to argue to him that is assertoric, that's an assertive statement in speech act theory. An assertive statement is something that can be true or false. It's not just a description. It's not saying atheism is a lack of belief as a description, right? It's saying it propositionally. Atheism is only one thing. That statement is a proposition that is either true or it is false. That is esoteric in the fact that it is asserting this to be the case. I think that proposition is false because it's not only one thing. It could be many other things, which I've argued for years. Matt Dillahunty recognizes every so often that, but you know, for him to say that you must be atheist or theist and there could be no other way you do it, that implies the metaphysical necessity. Now, if you said this, hey, in philosophy, it's normative, or the way Steve uses these words, you do not have to be theist or atheist. That's all you have to say. And then atheists out there would go, oh, well, Matt's saying this must be the case. Let me go look into it. And I want to get somebody's goddamn shit from fucking people that don't bother to go read a fucking paper or book on these topics, right? And I don't mean to be agitated, but Jesus Christ, used to see these morons that I get. That basically see, Steve, you have to be atheist or theist.
There's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them out there.
And they say this, they parrot Matt Dillahunty because they look up to him, right? And they say, look, Matt Dillahunty says you must be a theist or atheist. There's no possible other way ever. Nobody in their right mind that knows philosophy would agree with that. Nobody.
Well, he doesn't. He's never claimed that you have to be a hard atheist. He's always said it's soft.
That's not what I said.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah.
Now you're changing it. He's using the words, right? He's just saying you must be atheist or must be theist. And if you use it in the soft case,
well, he's using the word. He's not using the definition that you're using.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Right. He uses. He even says they use an atypical or non-standard definition. Which, by the way, I've been saying for years. He finally admitted that on Twitter.
What?
He actually said on Twitch. He was on Twitch on his live stream, and he said, "Hey, the most that Steve can say is that we use an atypical definition." Okay, I've been saying that. How many years I've been saying that they use an atypical? But I don't prescribe to them they have to use philosophical terminology. I don't think they must. I've wanted them to acknowledge that it existed for 2 years, and it wasn't until recently they finally acknowledged that. It's like, God damn. It's frustrating, dude. It's ridiculous.
I'm trying to play devil's advocate on his side. You know, I think that if you would say atheist as in there is no God, he would say, well, that's not the belief, and he would explain it and say this is not the way we're using it.
But it doesn't matter how you use it. There's certain logic to be had, right? And he's ignoring the fact that logically you do not have to believe the way, and that is what in philosophy is actually understood as the agnostic position or agnostic on the proposition. They'll say, well, Gnosticism answers a different question. Bullshit. 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 It doesn't answer a different question. If you stay with an ontology, all it means is that you have a psychological state of being agnostic on the proposition. That's what it means. That's what it is inferred in any paper you go read. So why does he get to make up shit and say that's not the case? Okay, great. It's not the case. Is that because you stipulatively say this and you make it up and you pull it out of your ass? Or do you have something I can read on this to show that's not the case? Second one never happens. And by the way, we got a super chat. I'm sorry, Wilson, $2. Dillahunty Dodge, huh? Got to resort to quoting G-Man. You know what? Even a broken clock is right twice a day, right? You know?
I think the Dark Master has a question he's been trying to ask since we started.
Well, is this being live streamed and recorded without my consent? You don't have my consent, sir. You're being sued.
Yeah, okay. For what? Do you want my comb?
$20. $20.
It's more than I got right now. I actually just gave my landlord.
No, I don't care. I don't care. I'm just messing with you.
Who's here? By the way, people that don't know, that little live light means that we could be live anytime in this. Be prepared. Dark Master, what do you got for me, man?
There's 2 viewers that you got. I'm sure I don't really care about. How many viewers you got? Like 5?
126 right now.
No, I'm just messing with you. I couldn't get more than like 4 or 5 on my Twitch.
What's your question? And by the way, somebody in the live chat says, so knowledge and belief are the same thing. Mr. Serious, will you answer that question?
Have you been watching this at all since we started? Like, really? Yeah. Did you just pop in and just ask your question out of the blue?
Yeah.
Yeah, I refuse to answer retarded questions. I'm sorry.
That's just, nobody would ever suggest that knowledge and belief are the same thing. If you don't understand what they are, go to my blog, read the blog that I wrote called the Principle of Attribution and Retraction. And then I think it explains very well the difference between knowledge and belief without having to get into strict details about justified true belief. But it explains why we have true belief, or true knowledge, and never false knowledge, but beliefs can be true or false. So if you want to understand knowledge and belief in a way that makes sense, I break it down on my blog.
Go read it again. It's called The Principle of Attribution and Retraction. Okay, so
I think
you have a
people
question,
are
Mark?
complaining about the feedback coming from Xavier Vox,
Yeah,
Mike
my
constantly.
bad.
I was cooking stuff in the microwave. My bad. I'm done.
Okay, so go
I
ahead.
wasn't sure if it was picking it up.
Dark Master, you had a question?
Okay. I had a question. You're talking
Mic
about
is
like
low, can you-
nuance.
Louder, please.
You're talking about nuance and your position, but I wanted your position on because there's like trying to word this correct. I'm sorry. What is your position on the potential of beings like Cthulhu that won't
They don't
technically fit the well, I mean, no. Let me finish. I mean, what to believe that there might be more advanced beings than humans? Isn't that kind of a human-centric decision?
Yeah, I don't believe that. I believe that's bullshit. Cthulhu is a mythos by Lovecraft. It has no ontology. It is complete myth. I believe that.
I wasn't talking about
by the way.
Cthulhu himself. I was talking about like the idea of a more advanced being somewhere in the universe.
Oh yeah, I
Because it's
think alien
more
life exists,
likely
sure.
than like
Yeah, possible.
the Islamic God, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's like not really technically a a god in what most people define as one.
Yeah.
It's an entity that's one in comparison.
And by the way, the person we talked about said he just got here, so my apologies. Maybe he actually is new here. But yeah, that's kind of a silly question. And by the way, we don't mean to be demeaning, but we get this shit all the fucking time, and you get people from Matt Dillahunty's group comes over and asks these fucking stupid questions. And
Sorry, I asked the silly
enough's enough,
Cthulhu
right? I'm
question.
not. I always think people are sea lioning at this point because we've talked about these things so many times over 8 years, and you still have people that, for some reason, try to sea lion and ask questions we've already addressed. So if you meant this very sincerely, I'm going to apologize very sincerely, and we will treat you as an honest interlocutor. Is that fair? Okay. So, where were we? Yeah. So I mean, when it comes to alien life, sure, I think there's something. But again, if you don't believe either way, you're agnostic on that proposition. If the proposition is alien lives exist. It's not about the nobility of God, of the aliens. It is, do you hold a position either way? Do you believe either way? Right? It isn't asking the question, do you know aliens exist or not? Agnostic on a proposition has to do with a belief state, not a epistemic or knowledge state of that you know aliens exist, right? If I say, are you agnostic on P, I'm not asking if you know aliens exist or you claim to know aliens exist. I'm asking you is, are you agnostic on the proposition that aliens exist in that you do not have a belief on it? Either way. That's
I think it's more likely than the
If you
other.
do not have a belief, that means you do not believe.
Right. We all agree upon that, X. You keep on making that. You do the same thing Matt Dillahunty does. Like that is some kind of defeater.
I'm still kind of confused with the whole gumball.
Steve has
analogy,
already
to be
agreed to
completely
your
honest.
proposition.
I didn't want to bring it up again.
Why
I
does
didn't want to bring it up again, but
look, let me make
I'm
this
still
very clear.
confused on the
Again,
whole gumball
X
analogy.
X. Okay. You know what? I gotta
I'm here.
go
What's up?
explain this. I gotta go explain this. If the proposition is even, and you believe it, we're gonna call that evenist. We're gonna assign labels. I hate doing that, but you have no choice now. It just makes it easier.
Okay.
If you believe the proposition
Whatever.
is even, we're gonna call that evenist. Is that cool?
I don't understand why, but okay.
All right. Now, if I believe that it's false, I'm gonna call that oddest.
That's a separate proposition for another
It's the same
conversation. but
proposition,
okay.
only it's the negation. You're just saying that the proposition is even is false. If it's false, then you're accepting the negation of
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But we're not We're not talking about believing either one. We're talking about one believing if it's true. Either you believe it's true, yes or no. Either you believe it's false,
Okay.
yes or no.
Right. Okay.
Now that is logic.
I get that. Okay. So if you believe it's true, you're an evenist, right?
Okay.
If you don't believe it's true, you're not automatically an oddist, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome. Okay. Well, now we're making progress here. If you're not automatically an oddist, could it be because you're not an evenist nor an oddist? You have no position on either way. Which means you do not believe it's even and you do not believe that it's odd.
If you believe it's odd or you don't know, both of them mean you do not believe.
You said no. Don't use the word no because now you're going to confuse yourself. So listen to me very carefully because you just changed what I said.
Okay. All right.
If you
Go
do
ahead.
not believe that they're even, you said it doesn't necessitate that you must believe that they're odd, right?
Yes.
Could it be the case that you neither hold the position that there's even, nor do you hold the position that it's odd?
You could not hold a case that's even or odd? Yes.
Yeah, okay. So the position that you hold that is even, we can call it evenist. The position that you call odd is an oddist. The middle position is agnostic. That is, does not believe it's true, does not believe it's false. It is the do not position. But it's a do not position, not just...
Well, that's not the question. That's not the question. No, that's not the question. The question is not, do you believe it's true or it's false? The question is, do you believe it's true? Yes or no?
And each proposition has a different question. If you believe it's false, it doesn't make you an oddist. It makes you either an oddist or an agnostic in this particular case. We're going to just be using those two terms. Either you believe the negation or you believe neither. Remember, believe, disbelief, or suspend judgment.
Either you believe the negation or you believe neither.
Yes.
If you don't believe it's true, then you don't believe it's true. So you don't believe it's true. So the answer is no.
But that's a tautology. If you don't believe, you don't believe. We all get that. I really don't understand your objection here.
If you don't believe it's true, that means you don't believe it's true. But if you do believe it's false, that means you believe the other thing is true.
Yes. Well, if you believe it's false,
if you believe it's false, or you do not have a belief at all, that means you do not believe.
Correct.
Which
both
means
those are, yes. Both of those are do not believe positions. Very good. What's the argument?
I don't know.
Agnostic does not believe. I've said it a million times. Oddists do not believe.
It does not believe. You can actually believe that it's false, or you cannot have a belief.
Thank you. That's the middle ground.
Those fall into the same. Those fall into the same category. If I do not believe.
That's why I've been trying to argue for like years now. I don't know why it's so complicated.
I mean, I've agreed with you from the beginning. I thought you were arguing that there's a third middle ground.
That is the third middle ground. That is the third middle ground. That legit is the third middle ground. I don't. You're 95% of the way there.
If you claim that it's not true or you don't have a belief, they both fall into the category of you don't believe.
But nobody's claiming there's a middle ground. But I see. Okay, look, X says nobody's claiming. Listen to me very carefully. Nobody is claiming. Listen to me. Nobody is claiming there's a middle ground between believe and not believe. Nobody.
I thought that's what your whole argument was.
No, never been my argument. I've never said any stupid thing like that in my life.
Well,
you believe or you don't believe. That is a dichotomy. Okay? You have to be the believe or you don't believe. There's no other option.
That's what I've been saying for like 2 hours.
But we're not arguing that. We're not arguing against that.
I thought you were arguing there was a third middle ground.
The third middle ground is not between believes and not believe. The third middle ground is between believes P and believes not P. That's the third middle ground. This is what I wrote my blog about, because right now, and I want everybody to pay attention, I'm not throwing it under the bus, I swear to God, that may or may not exist. I'm agnostic. But X, 130 people or something are watching. When you go read my blog in the video description, this is
I'm going to read that. Yeah. Gods and Gumballs.
This is the exact same thing, and I will read this later on, not tonight. But X, you're doing exactly the misuse of this analogy that I see all the time from this analogy. This the misunderstanding, which this blog, I think, tries to rectify it. And again, the logic has been checked by 100 people. Nobody has found any error in the logic. Nobody. Now, if it exists, fine. Tell me, I will correct it. But the people that have read it so far, even the people that think I'm an idiot, they go, we don't see a problem in your logic. Okay, great. And they're the ones that do say there's a problem with the logic can't demonstrate it, obviously. This doesn't say you're wrong by fiat. But you're confusing the belief with not belief. That is dichotomous. You must be one or the other. But belief, it's true, and belief it's false is not dichotomous. You can have a middle ground between that where you neither believe either one.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, you know what? I'll give you a picture. You want a picture?
Yes, but that's not the question.
What do you mean it's not the question?
That's not the question.
What's the question?
The question is whether you believe or not.
I don't.
It's not whether you believe.
I don't. No. Okay, that's the question. I don't. Where you go? Okay, go. Yeah, you know what? You be the interlocutor.
Let me
ask me questions. No,
maybe I misspoke.
Let me ask me the questions real quick. Then I promise you.
Okay.
I swear. So X, give me a Socratic thing. Ask me all the questions you want, and I'll tell you how I answer them as an agnostic. Okay.
Do you believe God exists?
No.
Which one are you talking about?
I'm not.
Are
That's my
you talking
question.
about like Cthulhu or like
It's
biblical?
hang on, asking me. No, I don't believe God exists. I'm an agnostic.
About aliens?
X,
Okay,
that's your only
so
question?
I'm kind of confused. Like, where are we headed with this? We're in agreement, and then you saying that there's a middle ground, and then
The
you say
middle
there's no
ground
middle
is
ground.
But the middle ground is
I'm just
between
confused.
beliefs true and beliefs false. Serious, maybe you can explain.
There is no middle ground.
Between beliefs true and beliefs false? Yes, there is. You just said it. You,
You
don't
either
believe
believe
either
or
way.
you do not. There's only
Okay.
two options.
No,
I'm so-
All middle
here,
ground.
hold
You
on.
can
I mean, I don't want to, I don't want to drag this conversation on. I don't have to.
not believe in other.
You know what? I think a picture
No.
will help you. So I'm going to put a picture in the chat.
Yeah, put a picture in the chat.
Okay, so if you go to,
I think I already know what you're going to put in
did I put it
there.
in rules?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to drag this conversation
That's
on.
cool. Don't worry about it. I'm going to put it in the
No, but
what's the
but
chat?
I'll definitely read your thing because
You do the
it's
voice
still not
chat?
really making sense
I
to
need a
me.
chat. Well, I'll put it in general. Okay, so
Put it in general.
So go look in general, and I'm putting it right now, image to help you understand the middle position. Okay, because I think I'm a visual learner too. I get it. Don't no big deal. Okay, see that image right there?
Well, I'm actually in the middle of making some cinnamon buns, so I got stuff all over my hands, so I can't really check
I might be able to
At the-
explain it.
Go ahead. Knock
at
yourself
the
out.
second.
Okay, there's two prongs to any claim. Either the claim is true or the claim is false. But if I say that I believe in something, let's just say God. That one's easy. I believe in God. There. Now that claim is either true or false. Okay, sorry. Let me start over. God exists. That claim is either true or false. God does not exist. That claim is either true or false. Both of those,
Yes,
there's no middle ground.
Exactly.
Okay, but now I'm
Exactly,
going to put an extra thing in there, and this is where everything gets confused, muddled, and complicated. I believe God exists.
Okay.
Now I've just
Go on,
overcomplicated it out
Cthulhu
of it.
or
And now there is a middle ground. By putting the word believe in there, you have now added lots of extra things that we can say. Instead of just saying, I believe that God exists, it's I can say that, but I can also say I don't believe that God exists. I can also say that I believe that no God exists. So far I've not said the same thing twice. I can also say I don't believe that no God exists. That's a double negative, sure, but it's a separate claim all in itself. Those are 4 claims. Those are 4 different
about things that we
options.
perceive to be one, but might not actually be one.
Those are 4 different options that I've created out of that. So not only is there not only 3, but no, there's 4. One of those happens to be very nonsensical. I think it's the one of them where because you believe the positive on one side, you have to believe the negation on the other. That's where one of them becomes nonsensical. So that it would leave 3 that were logically consistent. So there has to be middle ground if you add the I believe in the front. There has to be.
Well, this is something I want to have to think about because
I wish you
We'll
could
have
see
to look
that
at that
image
pic-
because I think it would really make sense to you if you looked at it.
got to be honest, I'm not.
I really think it would make sense.
To me, it's like you either.
Yes, you either believe or you don't believe. We all agree with that.
But there's always 2 prongs to every claim.
About things that we perceive to be, but aren't actually.
All right, so we're gonna move out of that topic. When you get a chance,
And
look
we're
at the
having-
general chat. You'll see an image from
Then
Dr.
all of a
Malice
sudden
Outpass. It's called
say
View
that
Number
I'm
2
not
from His
making
Use
any
of Reason.
sense.
The atheist would be B, not P. Theist is BP. The agnostic is not BP and not B, not P. Or you can read.
Right. Enough
Dr.
with the calculus.
Or you
Just
can
talk
read.
normal.
Or you can
It's not
read.
calculus. That's like
It's pedagogic.
basic graph making.
It's
That's
pedagogic.
formal logic.
You can
I
go,
always hated math in school.
but sometimes it helps to look at it so you get an understanding. This is the.
Yeah,
This is
not
how-
math.
okay,
That's just a
you're not making
graph.
any sense to me.
Well, okay.
Not math.
I don't
It's
know
a
why.
graph.
I mean, it's not that complicated. I think you're overthinking it. I mean, if I don't believe that it's even, doesn't mean I have to believe it's odd. And if I don't believe it's
And I-
odd, doesn't mean I have to believe it's even. I could be not believing either way. That not believing is saying that I don't hold the belief it's true, and I don't hold the belief it's false. That is the middle ground between believing true and believing false. That is the middle ground there. I mean, you can look at the diagram and it explains it perfectly and be like, I get it.
Can I just take this brief moment?
Just so we're
Oh
clear.
my
That's
God,
not.
JJ.
That was never the question. Whether you believe it's true or you believe it's false.
So it could,
That was
so
never the-
grasping
never the
on
question.
math.
JJ?
That was never the question.
Yeah.
The question was, do you believe it's true? Yes or no?
Yeah, no, I don't. And you've already asked him that. But JJ?
Yeah, you're all just
JJ,
proving.
What you doing, JJ?
You're-
How'd you get in?
You're
JJ?
proving, my friends, that epistemology is garbage.
Yes, dude. Yes.
For magician, what about things that we perceive to be, entities, but are actually
Well,
just
JJ actually lives in the
hyper-advanced
Matrix. I mean, he actually is from the Matrix. He's one of those people that he's actually helped design this construct. I'm not. When is you the designer of this universe, JJ? I think so, because you're a powerful magician.
So to speak,
So to
sure.
speak. Okay. Anyways. No, so anyways, seriously, I mean, JJ, how sick of you fucking are Matt Dillahunty pulling this shit? I've seen
So
that I've been
that's what
wrong for
drew
how
me
many years.
here.
It doesn't just it blows me. Do you know who he quoted, JJ? I'll give you a hint. I don't want to talk about his name any longer because he's not worth it. But do you know a very
AJ
dishonest?
Abrams.
Do you know a dishonest lawyer that Burt Poole and Malice passed had to shit on his logic, and then the guy dishonestly talks about my court case? That guy. So Matt Dillahunty has deferred to him as a person who understands his logic over myself when Dr. Malpass shat over this guy saying this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. And Alex, when he tells you you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, the chances are pretty high that you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, right? By the way,
They're very high.
Does Alex tell you that a lot?
Did Alex tell me that?
Yeah, has he ever told you that?
That when he says something's true, the chances are it's true?
No. Has he ever said that JJ doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
Because
I've never made that
said.
line of
Really,
error.
Abrams?
So would you be upset if he did?
Oh, yeah, I take it very seriously.
Right? I'm not okay. I shouldn't say upset. But if Alex says, "Dude, you're just don't know what the fuck you're talking about," I would stop and go,
Watering their
"Shit."
plants. What's that sound?
Oh, you in the shower?
Yeah, whatever.
In a bath?
But anyways, so JJ, who would you think would make more sense for you to quote? So somebody to quote somebody that Malpass thinks is inept in logic, or myself that quotes Dr. Oppie, and Dr. Malpass, and Dr. Jackson, and Dr. Smart, and Dr. Malik, and how many other people did I quote? What's more likely the case? I mean, I was saying one is the more one has to be. One has to be clearly true, but I'm not saying I am true because of that. That's where Dillahunty comes in and says, well, Steve thinks he's right and says he's right, and there could be no other way because all these experts thinks he's right. You've known me 5 years. I've never done that.
Yeah, I mean, that Alex is very smart. I'm actually not sure what the situation was. I was drawn over because I saw the title.
You're just supposed to agree with me by fiat, dude.
Well, I assume this is all rhetorical. Of course,
Yeah.
Everything you're saying sounds sane and
Well,
reasonable.
oh my God, maybe I actually kind of know the topic. I know, crazy, right?
I mean, I think we disagree on some things, but you sound, you sound reasonable.
Either you know my cinnamon buns are the best cinnamon buns in the entire world, or you haven't tried them.
Yeah.
There's no
It's
middle ground.
50-50. 50-50, right, buddy?
I doubt we.
My cinnamon buns are so good.
I doubt we disagree on probably more than that much. I mean, you told.
I can't wait to read this blog of yours because
I got, dude. I got 100.
I'm just confused.
Have you?
Well, there's a sense.
I think you guys are.
What X?
What's that?
I said there's also a sense, Steve, in which we agree on everything.
Ooh. Well, I mean, do you tend to more?
Yeah,
realism than-
I think we agree on the basic laws of logic. Is that, but you guys are kind of taking it a step further than I've really thought of.
That's fine.
Maybe.
But JJ, do you tend to more realism now, or do you still do error theory or something?
Moral? No.
What do you tend to?
There's no moral realism.
All right, so you're more anti.
I'm like an emotivist,
You're emotivist,
expressivist.
okay. So you're more not cognitivist then.
You know, that's
I'm labeling you, by the way.
yeah, I know. That's kind of
I'm telling you your label.
Um.
I'm sorry. I haven't talked to JJ for. Was ignoring.
no. That's
Oh,
quite
no.
all right. I'm curious what X is missing here.
Okay, so
Me too.
I'm also curious what the Dillahunty.
I can't see.
All right, so I wrote a blog entry, and you read my blog, and you know my blog is read by a lot of people that know their shit, and if I have any errors, they will point them out to me. I get a message in the middle of the night going, "Hey, Steve, you fucked up," right? It happens. I mean, I write I call it 3 a.m. philosophy for a reason. I write this shit at 3 a.m. I have been known to make mistakes, but you know what I do? I fix them, right? God, what a concept, right?
Right.
So I made a blog the other day, and I wanted to explain the misuse of the gumball analogy. Usually the gumball analogy said this way: if somebody posits to you that you have a jar,
Unplug my microphone.
If you have
for a second there.
Hang on.
What were you saying? Somebody was saying my name before I got disconnected.
No, I was saying that I had written a blog called Gumballs and God, Better Explained.
Yeah.
And what
I will read that.
What I was attempting to do was show that the normative use of these things are misconstrued often, and that when people say, look, here's the gumball, when I say that I assert that they're even, if you deny, I don't want to use the word deny, if you don't accept that they're even, that doesn't mean necessarily that you're implying that they're odd or asserting that they're odd. You can have no position either way, right? AJ?
Yep. Oh, I thought you were talking to me.
You can disbelieve that they're even and disbelieve that they're odd.
Well, no, disbelief actually means negation. Right? If you say I disbelieve, hang on, X.
Yeah, that's a separate question.
If I say I disbelieve, that means you're assert negation. Okay, so don't use the word disbelieve. Say I don't accept. It's easier. That way, there's no confusion or ambiguity.
What's the difference?
Because disbelieve means
what's the difference?
Negation.
Yeah,
if I say they're even,
if I don't accept,
disbelieve means that you believe the opposite.
Yes,
no, I don't think that's true at all.
It is.
Please relax, X.
Yeah, X. That's logic. Go. I mean, I'm not trying to bullshit you. That's epistemic logic. You can go read Rutgers. You can go read.
That's the whole point of the gumball analogy.
But yeah, well, this is more technical stuff, right? Disbelief is inferred by Frege's reductionism and what's called epistemic logics to be the case.
Actually, I want to say there's actually technically 4 positions on like whether you believe, don't believe, or.
Well, you can not care either. That's apatheism. So what? I mean, there's a lot of different positions. All right, so JJ.
Oh, I wasn't talking about that.
Just so there's no ambiguity here. And I wrote a blog on disbelief as well, by the way. And by the way, Aaron actually changed his position on this because Aaron had said the same thing. Disbelief just means unbelief. Disbelief just means that you don't accept. And I proved to him that it wasn't the case by citations and logic and reason. And I also showed him in the American Atheist where it says atheism is not a disbelief or lack. It says atheism is not a disbelief or denial of gods. And I was like, look, if American atheism is using disbelief the way you are, they're saying atheism is not a lack of belief. Does that make sense to you, Aaron? And he eventually had to change his position on that, right? Now, did he give me credit for that? Of course not. But think about that. I mean, I could go to American Atheist, go to their about page. It says right there, atheism is not the disbelief or denial of God or gods. Actually, do you accept that? Do you want me to go? Do you want to go check that out?
Well, I mean, yeah. Are you talking to me? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you accept that American Atheist says that?
Well, I mean, for the sake of the conversation,
right,
yeah, I'll take your word on it.
Can they go to American Atheist page and they put in the live chat exactly what it says? It says, again, atheism is not the disbelief or denial of gods. Okay, so if that's the case, where disbelief was merely a lack of belief, they're saying atheism is not the lack of belief of gods. And you agree that would be something American atheists would not really say, right? So they're obviously meaning disbelief in the
not the
case.
lack of belief in gods. You're saying,
they believe atheism is just a lack of belief. It says atheism is one thing, a lack of belief in gods, right?
I would think that that's what it would say.
Okay, so if it says atheism,
I don't know. I mean, I'm not looking at it.
If it says atheism is not the disbelief of gods, they clearly have to be using disbelief in the strong case of the assertion of the negation. Because translated, right, it could be read as the way it should be read: atheism is not the belief that God does not exist. That's what they believe. It's not true, but that's what they're using it as. Because if you use disbelief and just merely as not believing, it reads as atheism is not the lack of belief of God's exist, which clearly that's what they do believe. So disbelief, even on American Atheist, they're using it as the positive assertion of the negation. But anyways, we're going down a rabbit hole.
I kind of see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, right here. Well, Jigsaw, can you not
mean-
that? What Jigsaw says, atheism is one thing, a lack of belief with God. But can you read the very
the
bottom
thing is that
in bold?
words mean different things to different people,
We get
and
that.
that is a problem.
Yeah, no, we
That
understand.
is a problem. That is a
Alright.
big problem,
So JJ, going back
especially
to
with the word atheist.
so JJ, going back to your
Because when I,
hang on, let me go back to JJ because we've already wasted time with just
yeah, I didn't want to
that's fine.
hijack here. Just
So JJ, the argument was this: if I say that their proposition is even, the Gumballs are saying that if you don't affirm that it's even, doesn't mean that you're certain that they're odd, right? JJ.
Yep.
Okay.
Say that one more time.
If you do not accept that the proposition of the Gumballs being even is true, that does not mean that you are by necessity asserting that they are false.
Why?
Because you can have no belief either way. If I don't accept that they're even, that doesn't mean I'm telling you that they're odd. Right?
Yeah. Do you hold the belief that the gumballs are even?
No.
Do you hold the belief that the gumballs are odd?
No.
There you go.
I have no belief either way, right? That's the third position, right? That's the third position between belief is true and belief is false. Now, what X is doing is he's conflating that. He's confusing that between belief and disbelief, where there is no third middle ground. Because you either believe or you don't believe. See the problem
Yeah.
now? Okay.
Well-
So Jigsaw says, did you mean, he says, to be
I gotta
clear,
read your thing.
atheism is not a disbelief in gods or denial of gods. It is a lack of belief in gods. So read that statement to me as a disbelief as meaning merely not believing or a lack of belief. It would read as atheism is what, to be clear, atheism is not a lack of belief in gods. It is or denial of gods. It is a lack of belief in gods. That would make no sense if they meant it that way, right? It would make no sense if you put lack of belief instead of that disbelief. They clearly mean disbelief to mean the positive assertion of the negation. Anyways, Josiah, $2. Here is the negation of $2. Please, P.S. Check your DMs. Okay. Where are my DMs though?
I mean,
Like from where?
colloquially, people. I don't. I agree with you. There's a problem with the wording on the things, but I think colloquially, people will say disbelief means that I just don't believe. It doesn't mean.
Okay, but
that
then you
they're
get into
putting-
confusion because now a caller had called into Matt Dillahunty and said, look, I disbelieve gods exist. I hold that they don't exist. And instead of Matt Dillahunty going, oh, yeah, we use the word differently over here, he told the caller he was wrong. When the guy was using correct epistemic reasoning and dispositions. If you look at Rutgers Philosophy 101, it actually says,
Yeah, Matt Dillahunty's been wrong before.
no shit.
I agree.
But he has actually,
There's no reason to
it
have a
actually
conversation
says,
about
if
that.
you believe the proposition is false, it says the proper epistemic status toward it is disbelief. But he tells the caller he's wrong because he's using words according to the way logic uses it, right? That's what I get on that Dillahunty for. He doesn't say, look, we don't use it that way, but I know what you mean. He doesn't say, hey, Steve's correct the way he's describing things. If you go take a college course and Steve was giving the lecture, listen to him. You'll pass the class. He doesn't say that, right?
Okay. So here's another thing that I kind of wanted to bring up about the ACA, Matt Dillahunty. Now, it is a show. They are getting
I
sponsors
agree with
and
that,
stuff,
but
right?
we're not talking about on the show.
So
itself
how much
so
of it is he's trying to put on the show? Because he gets the YouTube
Then
hits.
then why does he go
Or
on other
Matt
channels?
Dillahunty hangs up on a caller.
Yeah,
it's
why does he? Okay, again, it's a show.
now,
Again,
how much of that is him trying to get hits, or
Why does he then
and
go
and
on?
how much of it is we need money for the ACA
Why
from our
I
sponsors?
think it's he's allowed to run a show as one. I think it's a little dishonest, but whatever. But he goes on other platforms, like he went on the Atheist Edge and he went on Seth Andrews' channel, and he lied about me. And he just says you're wrong, and he doesn't explain why. Why is that? What have I been wrong about? What has Matt Dillahunty ever shown that I was wrong about on any of this? Please fucking tell me, anybody. I look forward to it. Nobody has told me what the hell I've been wrong about any of this with what Matt Dillahunty says.
I to play devil's advocate here, and just to be brutally honest, maybe he doesn't care about. Maybe you're not even.
I don't
worthy
give a
of
fuck about that.
even
Then shut the
explaining.
fuck up about me, then, for God's sake. He doesn't have to talk about me, but he badmouths me and he lies to
I've
follow.
never-
I mean, they have 100,000 people, right? They have 5,000 people watching, and he lies about me? Fuck you.
I
Not
mean,
you.
I've listened to like all of his debates, seen every single thing that's online, and I've never heard your name
Well, then you ain't
from
paying
his
attention
mouth.
because
So,
he
I mean,
mentioned me on Twitch the other day. He mentioned me on.
well, I don't watch his Twitch. I don't care about
But,
his
yeah, he
playing
mentioned-
games. I'm more
By the way, go
about
watch the debate that he had
philosophy
with.
and religion and stuff.
What was the debate that he had and some kid
And
in the
I saw the one where he was looking at his phone, and my initial thought was, "Oh, I've seen this a million times before. This is bullshit.
was
I'm not
dismissive.
even going to pay attention."
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
But,
let me ask you this.
maybe just
you
playing
remember the-
devil's advocate here.
Do you remember the debate that he had? And I don't remember who he was at some university, and one of the kids in the
I've
audience,
watched them all.
All right, so
I've watched like every single one he's ever done.
All right, so one of the kids had asked him.
I might not remember it.
Yeah, so one of the kids had asked about agnosticism, and he went on this tirade. And I swear to God, I pictured him envisioning me in his head when he said this. Now I can't prove that, but you pick up agnosticism, his mind thinks of me. I'm called the Pope of agnosticism for a reason. It's triggering to him because he doesn't know how to defeat my arguments. He just does not know how to at all. I mean, I'm not trying to trying to stroke myself, but for fucking A, for how many years have I explained these things and he still cannot get it right? Jesus fucking Christ. I mean, enough. But that's fine. He doesn't have to. But my thing is, stop fucking lying about me. Stop saying I'm a position that I do not have. I've never been a prescriptionist. If you go to my webpage, I make it very clear in my positions. I say here's a page called my positions to alleviate straw man abatement or have straw man abatement. And I put in there, I'm not a descriptivist. I'm a prescriptivist. I am a descriptivist. So why would he lie to me about? Or why would he lie to his audience about that? Why?
Now, are you sure that he's lying rather than just being misinformed?
What do you call it when you tell somebody this is not my position and they continue to tell people that
Maybe
is your
he forgot.
position?
How about that?
What?
Maybe he forgot. I don't know.
No.
I mean, I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt here as a human being.
No, he knows. He knows. He absolutely fucking knows.
Well, I mean, you say that, but I mean, maybe, let's give him the benefit of that. Maybe it's kind of hard for me to just hear from you what he said and all that. I mean, I don't know the conversation. It's kind of hard to determine whether he was outright purposely lying rather than just being misinformed and saying something that was incorrect.
Okay.
Now, if you say that he's lying, I'll just, for the sake of the conversation, I'll take your word for it.
I had Eric Murphy from Talk Heathen. On Talk Heathen, a caller had called in, and Eric had said, yes, well, Steve's a prescriptivist. And I had called Eric, and I said, because I know Eric, and he's a friend of mine, and I'm like, Eric, I'm not a prescriptivist. And I'm like, I don't appreciate you labeling me that because you've heard it from Matt Dillahunty. And I showed him in my webpage where I'm not. And Eric, being the honest guy that he is, went through my webpage, and I talked about my positions. He's like, yeah, I get it now. He's like, I don't think you're prescriptivist at all. You're a descriptivist. I'm like, yes. And I thank you. And he was supposed to on air correct that, but he never did. But see, he was honest about it. We talked, and he was like, oh yeah, I get it now, right? Because he didn't lie about that. Right? He wasn't trying to lie about me, right? That's the difference. But Matt has now actively been saying that I'm something that I'm not after he's been corrected, after I wrote him a letter, an open letter, and then today he posts something on Twitter saying, well, watch this video because this is what I think of Steve, and this is, all that needs to be said kind of shit. I mean, whatever his words were. But he posted a video from a very famous troll that has no understanding of logic, and instead of posting an expert, right, who disagrees with me, because I've heard, well, I have experts that disagree with you. Where the fuck are they then? I asked that to Aaron one time. Aaron says, hey, Steve, I got a PhD philosopher that disagrees with you. I'm like, really? Okay, who is it? Never got a name. Because I don't think that's the case. I think that he probably told him something that I don't actually have. Like if he said if he told that philosopher, hey, you know what, I got to go over here, Steve, and he's a modal anti-realist. And I had a philosopher come up to me and goes, hey, Steve, why are you a modal anti-realist? And I say, well, I'm not a modal anti-realist. He says, well, this guy said you're a modal anti-realist. I'm like, well, I'm not, and I'm not defending that. That's what happens, right? How can I defend being something that I'm not? And this is what I'm going to be going on the place for with an actual linguist, right? A person who's an expert in language to explain to Matt Dillahunty.
I mean, I would like to see this in context. You
need to follow me on Twitter, man.
Purposely lying. I don't do social media. So
well, now you know why you don't see it. You just sit there and say, why don't I never see him see this? And it's like, why don't do social media? Now you found your answer why, right? But anyways, I'm gonna.
I mean, I would like to see it in context.
Hey, Mr. Serious, what's the context? Go ahead.
The context has been that this has been going on for years, and people, like everybody around him, even people in his server or in his not Discord, but his he has a forum, and all the people in the forum know Steve's situation, and some of them even agree, and apparently they have brought it to his attention. So he has heard Steve's like side of things from like a good gym size full of people by now.
Yes.
And for him to bring this up again at all, then either A, he's really stupid, or B, he's a liar. Those are the only two options.
Yeah, the Prince of Parody is gone at this point, right? It's gone. But I would love to get his input on it. That's what sucks. I mean, I would love to hear what his input on some of my arguments are. I have multiple arguments, not just one. And he never addressed any of them. By the way, how many people in the community actually make novel arguments? Right? That's not easy to do, to come up with your own novel argument, or at least take an argument that's out there and have a derivative and then build upon it, which is basically kind of what I do. But my arguments are very solid. I was just recently invited to go talk to an atheist Christian book club in Texas that I flew out to go do on one of my arguments because they took it very seriously. And it's talked about around the world. Richard Carey wrote a blog on it. So, I mean, it's nothing to be dismissive of like he does. So I wouldn't mind getting his opinion, but he has to understand.
Can somebody send me links, please? Can somebody please send me links to this? Because I'd love to read about this. I mean,
I don't even know where to begin, but Mr. Sirius, maybe you can help me out there.
I mean, I know you've been saying it's been going on for years, but
yeah, I mean, because it's peppers in all over the place.
Because I've never heard about this.
It quite literally is basically whenever he wants to say something on any platform, this all kind of resurfaces again. And it's never like we don't talk about him. We don't talk about Matt here. He's not a topic of conversation. We don't care. We don't care about anything that Matt's got to say.
I haven't talked about Matt in a year or so. I mean, barely. I made the last blog I had of him was on that disbelief thing because he fucked that up. But I didn't even make a video about it. I don't think. Did I? I don't recall. But I only when he gets things wrong, and what happens is people message me. They, hey Steve, do you watch this? I'm like, no. Well, check it out. And I go, oh shit, yeah, Matt screw the pooch, right? Or hey, they're like, hey Steve, Matt's talking about you again. But I get all these messages from people about that. I don't watch the Atheist Experience any longer. I haven't for years. I watch Talk Heathens every so often. I was just in their live chat the other day. But
oh man, Talk Heathens painful. They let people go on for way too long.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, oh man, it's like cringy almost.
And hey, by the way, S.J. Thomason, I'll go on your channel and whenever you have time, and I'll talk about this as well. And I want everybody that listens to my channel, I want all of them to call Matt out on this if he does this, right? If he says I'm prescriptivist, call his bullshit out and say, look, here's Steve's blog. He literally says right here he's a descriptivist, and he could argue for descriptivism. That's been his argument for 5 years has been descriptivism. The prescriptivist is Aaron Ra and maybe Matt Dillahunty and American Atheist, right? When you say atheism is one thing, only a lack of belief, X, would you say that's prescriptivism? Because I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. That is, I think, the definition of prescriptivism, right?
Yeah, that's the descriptive definition of prescriptivism. Brian Stevens says SJ versus Dillahunty on morality. I think actually we agree on morality. That's the saddest part. He's a moral realist. So am I.
I think that definitely for people out there listening, I would not suggest calling him like on his
No, I don't want anybody to call. No, that's not what I meant. I meant in the.
I've been wanting to troll him for so long.
No, I don't want anybody to call.
Oh,
and call him and be like, y'all just want to sin, because that's my favorite call. I don't. Y'all just want to sin.
That's not what the show's for.
I want to troll them so hard, but I've never done it. But he's
on Twitch, right? And he's on Facebook or he's on Twitter, and he's talking about me there. Then call him out, right? Because that's bullshit, and I'm sick of it.
Well, I did my part on the Talk Heathen live Q&A when they avoided me. Yeah, so I really feel justified in that.
The next idiot that goes, well,
I thought I was crazy.
Why didn't you just call up the Atheist Experience? Oh, fuck that. I mean, come on. You don't call up somebody's show when they're the one being dishonest, right? You call up to apologize. He should be calling me
That
up
was me
my
that
show.
said that, by the way.
He should be calling me up, say, Steve, I misrepresented to you. I'm man enough to admit it, and I apologize. And as you describe these things in epistemology and logic, as it comes to the topics relating to atheism and agnosticism, you have been correct. That's what somebody with balls would do. That is what a man would fucking do. But he doesn't do that.
Well, I mean, he could just do that privately in his own head. He doesn't need to call you.
Yeah, no, it doesn't do. What the hell goes a private apology? Hey, I had to make a public apology the other day that's dying on my fucking sword, and you know what I did? I did it because it was the right motherfucking thing to do. And so now I can't take a little higher ground because I can goddamn fucking do it. He can, but he won't.
Yeah, don't accept private apologies for a public, offense. Issues.
Yeah.
He says all this shit publicly. He needs to apologize publicly.
Yeah, I agree with that. But then again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Like, maybe he just, it's not worth his time. He doesn't care. He'd rather play video games.
By the way, I have a
don't
rule.
know. Maybe
I have a rule though. If you're in my live chat and you have a fake account or anything like that, and you lie, you get hidden. Period. Done. There's no discussion. Don't lie about me, and you want to worry about it.
fake.
All right, so real quick.
Fake account?
Okay, hey, Perfect. What's up, buddy? So Perfect is actually an admin for the ACA Discord, and I get along with Perfect. Actually, he's a very smart guy. So he says, Perfect. To be fair, you do refuse to evaluate Matt's statements based upon the definitions he was using when he made them. You insist on substituting your own definitions before evaluating them. I do not. That is absolutely incorrect, Perfect. I understand the way Matt uses it.
Is this the guy who refused to come in here the last time we were here and wouldn't talk to you?
Maybe. No, but I mean, Preflex is a cool guy. I mean, but no, that's completely wrong. I can evaluate Matt's statements. He needs to evaluate mine. I can do an internal and external critique of my own arguments or Matt's using any definitions he wants. It makes no fucking difference to me. But he insists that I'm just wrong by fiat. How is that prescriptive behavior? I literally just said I can do the internal or external. That's the antithesis of prescriptivism.
Yeah, perfect.
Come on,
That's
Perfect.
What you're saying there is the opposite of smart. So don't stop doing that.
I literally am telling you
also,
the opposite of prescriptivism here. I accept descriptive things. He can use these words any way he wants. If he does, let's argue what happens when you do. He will not do that. And he won't say, okay, Steve, if you're right, let's discuss it, how you're using these terms. He will not do that. I'm happy to use the words the way he's using them and show him some of the problems because of it. He won't do that.
Yeah,
that's an internal critique, right?
There's logic errors with the way that Matt defines these words.
Yes, there's category errors, to say the least. And there's possible special pleading and possible absurdities. I don't say that there's logical errors only because that's a touchy thing when you say the logical errors. Now, I do think there's category errors, but there's synthetic category errors. And I do think there's definitely a possibility for special pleading and absurdities. But he doesn't address any of those, does he?
No.
But
he thinks he's got it all perfectly right.
But he did say years ago, hey, look, stop telling people that you don't have beliefs. Because I harped on that for how long, saying, hey, guys, if you're an atheist, don't go around saying you don't have beliefs. You look like an idiot. And I'm sure some of that got back to Matt because we have a lot of the same friends. And he's very good friends with Alex and Ozzy, and I get along well. Ozzy's a great friend of mine. So I know these things do get back to Matt, right? So I think he probably had heard me going around saying at one point, hey, stop saying you don't believe things. Because I had a guy the other day say, well, I don't have beliefs. I'm like, so you don't believe the universe is real? No. I'm done. It's like, where do you go from there, right?
Yeah, I actually said that before, that I don't have any beliefs. I either know things or I don't. And I look back on that and I'm like, it was just so stupid to say.
That was bad. And so
I was like, that is so stupid.
For years pushing that, dude, and telling people stop doing that. Dank Thinker says, is belief a subset of knowledge, or knowledge is a subset of belief? Knowledge is a subset of belief. But anyways, Preflect, does that make sense? Right? I mean, by the way,
yeah.
All right, so Preflect, if you want to come in, perfect. I would say perfect. Yeah, perfect. If you want to come in, obviously you're more than welcome to come to this Discord. I think you're awesome. I have no problem with you personally. I know you're just trying to defend Matt Dillahunty, but at the same time, the facts are that he has never done an internal critique of my blogs. I could do an internal critique of his, what he says, and he's wrong. It leads to errors the way he's doing, at least category errors that he's never addressed. Well,
Yeah, trust me, I'm the biggest Matt Dillahunty fan there is.
Perfect.
I mean,
you're a moderator
I'm
for Top Heathens, right?
very critical of him as well. You know.
Yeah.
I'm very critical of people that I look up to.
Perfect. You're also a chat moderator, aren't you? Or you're moderator. I know you're mod for somewhere over the ACA. But yeah, I mean, but I'm not a cult of personality, right? I don't think that anybody should think that somebody's right because of who they are. The arguments stand on their own merits. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Perflex is very intelligent. Yeah, I mean, he's a smart dude. And I think what
Doesn't
happens
mean
is he just
he's right.
is just not really. And I'm saying I'm not gonna say he's not understanding because that I don't want to be demeaning. I don't think that he's really fully heard my arguments to evaluate them. Right? So, like okay, for example, X, I argue that all atheists have a burden of proof. It doesn't matter whether you're in Asian or if you're just somebody who doesn't believe. That has been caused problems. That has been atheists lose their shit on.
You're
that.
saying that I have a burden of proof to prove that I don't believe?
That's not what I said.
Okay. Well, that's why I was trying to confirm what you said.
Anything?
That's what I thought. So
No,
that's
no,
why I was asking.
Let me say it again, very clearly. Because Matt Dillahunty says I'm wrong on this, but he didn't ever explain why. Because I wrote a blog on this with a proof that I had derived from Dr. Malik's paper, Defining Atheism and the Burden of Proof, which I talked to him about numerous times, and he liked my blog. He thought it was good, and he liked my argument. What I said is this, and Richard Carey agreed with me and wrote a blog on it. And he said, yes, Steve's right about this, but he thinks the burden's already been met. But let me make it very clear so you don't misrepresent me, X, okay? Not saying you're doing that on purpose. You're not being dishonest, okay? I get that. If you have a position...
Well, you believe that.
Yeah, I believe that you're not dishonest. Am I wrong?
Maybe I'm a secret...
You could be.
I'm
gonna give you
some sort of secret infiltrator for Matt Dillahunty's cult.
If you have a position towards the proposition, if you do not accept the proposition, or you reject it, or deny it, or say it's false, either way, you have a burden of proof to make your position rational. That is based upon what's called the probability criterion, set forth by sexist empiricists around the 1st and 2nd century. Okay, so if you have a rational position that's saying that I do not believe it is the case, for that to be rational, then you have what's called a second order burden of justification, which is your burden of proof. All agnostics have a burden of proof for the same reason. Why do you suspend judgment? Why do you not be able to say it's true or false? Those are questions that relate to your justificatory conditions, which are your burden of proof. So when you say, I do not believe, there is in epistemology a burden of proof to be had there. Because it just means, why don't you believe it? If not, you're not saying that you have a rational position. If I say, hey, X, I exist, and you say, listen, if I say I exist, and you say, Steve, I don't believe you exist, do you think that sounds rational?
I'm going to get you up at 9 o'clock. We're going to get you.
Dr. Malik is a Arab philosopher. Salmic is his first name. You can go find his paper. It's called.
Let's say
something
just as a hypothetical, there's a baby, just newborn infant, and they don't believe. I mean, do they have a burden of proof?
No, there are exceptions. No, there are exceptions, and I wrote in my proof, babies are excluded because babies do not have the ability or the information to evaluate. Dr. Oppie, Graham Oppie, wrote a book called Atheism and Agnosticism. He labels babies as innocent, meaning that they're innocent toward the proposition. So you only have a burden of proof if you do not believe, if you have attempted to evaluate the proposition, but have been unable to do so.
That was my point.
Okay, and by the way, one of the smartest guys on the planet and one of the biggest assholes I know just showed up. No, I'm just kidding. He's not an asshole. Hey, what's up?
Matt Dillahunty's here. Holy shit.
No, it's better than Matt Dillahunty's. It's Landon. Hi, Landon.
Hi, Steve. Hello.
What's up, stud?
What's up, Landon?
And Steve.
Yes, sir. I love you, Landon. I love you, by the way. You know that. I mean that. I do love you.
And you know I'm a big fan of yours.
I do.
Let's get Matt Dillahunty on this podcast, man.
So a couple of those things. One of the things I would like to at some time have one of those second level discussions about atheism, agnosticism, science, reality, and so forth.
Love that.
Where we get and not getting into the usual sort of.
You want to take it to the next level. You want to get out of first base.
Yes.
Yeah, I do too. And
Yes.
Yeah, I really do.
Yes. And also, I'm going to also give you maybe an apology where, I had because I do not like. I'm not a fan of prescriptive attitudes towards language.
Yes. No mind.
And one of the things that I would call it a trigger is when someone goes and says the dictionary says this and therefore it's that, right? And you say, but to me, dictionaries describe usage and they tend to trail what the language is, right? Right, and so when someone says they find some dictionary to say atheism is this, see it's in the dictionary. They show just how ignorant they are, even if the definition happens to be logically correct.
Yes, that's called argumentative ad dictionarium, and I hate that.
Yes, and so, but I, on the other hand, when I first encountered your descriptions of atheism, agnosticism, and so forth, I said, well, it's a common usage versus correct usage thing, and kind of dismissed it. So that's my confession.
Good.
Is that, and I think you were right in that being logically sound had more value than I gave it credit for.
I appreciate that, man. I mean that actually means a lot to me. I mean, I respect you as the smartest man I know alive, and with your history and your education and the papers that you've done and the contributions you've had to mathematics and astronomy and computer science are calculable. It means a lot to me because I've never said I'll never say like Landon agrees with me, therefore I'm right. That's never been something I've ever done, right? Nor would I ever do. But when you and I do our show together,
Windows or something.
One sec. When Landon and I used to do a show together, and I'd like to do some more called DEF CON 1 Science.
Yes.
And we love it.
Yes.
We talk about physics and we talk about nuclear reactors and we talk about the good stuff, right? The stuff that I would love to talk about more. And yet, I would never say, hey, look, I'm right on physics because Landon Kirtnell says so. I'm right in math because Landon Kirtnell says so. What I do, and by the way, I will not think Landon's right either unless he can prove it to me.
And you shouldn't. Right?
I made a mistake on probability once, and you know what I did? Landon pointed it out to me, and you know what I did? I thought about it. And instead of just blindly by fiat agreeing with him, I wanted to find the mistake. And I did.
Being wrong is not bad. It's actually human. What tends to get people into problems is that they're pointing out that they're wrong, and their ego gets in the way.
Yes, and Matt Dillahunty's ego gets in the way on this because I'm not wrong on this logic. Everybody who knows logic has told him I'm not wrong on this.
Yes, but
and I'm not even a logictician, man. It's just one niche that I've got some skill at.
Now, Matt Dillahunty and I have never interacted directly, so I can't speak to that directly. But some people who are online personalities value the personality more than the message.
Yeah, I know. He has an image to maintain. Oh, God forbid. Well, Aaron Ra has said this to me. He actually has said, Steve, if you're right, my entire life's work is for naught. And I'm like, that's hyperbolic. But can you imagine if Matt Dillahunty had to capitulate to me and say, yes, philosophically speaking, everything Steve has said is correct. If you want to take a college course and you want to learn philosophy and you want to learn epistemology from a very basic level to pass 101, go talk to Steve. He'll set you straight.
But what's the difference? And I don't mean to be mean, but what's the difference between someone like Hovind and someone like Dillahunty valuing their cult of personality over being sound?
Not a hell of a lot. Not a hell of a lot, dude. But I mean, I use these things as a litmus test because I think that logic is a good litmus test. But I also think like mathematics is too. So you and I know for many, many years that there are people out there that still deny fundamental mathematics. They think 0.99 repeating is not equal to 1. That is, to me, a litmus test. And what I mean by a litmus test is that you do not have the capacity to understand objective facts that can be proven using mathematics, then what the hell am I ever going to argue with you to change your mind for anything that is unprovable or subjective or even something that is objective that you don't understand? That, to me, is the litmus test. And I use it for that. And I probably shouldn't, but I have to have some means to myself to where I'm best suited my time.
Yeah, and it's sad. Go ahead. By the way, I'm sorry. Who's speaking? I'm interested. Who's the guy who's just speaking? I didn't mean to talk to you, but
who's that? Who are you asking about? Yes, you heard it here. Landon Kirtnell, one of the smartest guys on the planet, literally just compared Matt Dillahunty to Ken Hovind. I wouldn't go that far, but I think the comparison to be had is when you're that ideological, that dogmatic.
I didn't say they were the same. I asked, what is the difference?
Yeah, yes. There's a question.
What is the difference? Yes. And to say, blah, blah, blah. I'm not trying to invoke the effective equivalent of Godwin's law.
Yes.
But this is sort of saying if you value your public persona, your public image over your message,
absolutely. But let me
that
ask you this:
says something about you.
You've seen the way I present the logics. Have you ever found any error in my logics? And if you have, they've already been corrected. But I mean, as far as
I've had second order questions, but that's questions in order to learn and understand more, not to say you're wrong.
And that's great. I love that. Right?
And there's a question about what's the difference between the colloquial interpretation of something and the technical.
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, and I'm going to just throw this out there. I'm not going to die on this hill, but I think the colloquial version of atheism is the philosophical definition. And the reason I say that is because I talk to left people. This is anecdotal. But around the world, I find that it is the case if you just talk to normal people, not the people in this activist community, around the world, and what you read, even in the most colloquial type of fiction novels and things like that, it is held in a positive epistemic status. It's only when you get into these groups online, like atheist community of Austin, that you've seen those groups of people use it in the negative, right? But worldwide and in other countries, it's more typical that it's held in the positive case. Now, again, I can't demonstrate that. I think that, but you asked me, and I'm not the only one that thinks this way. I know there are other people that really know these topics that think the colloquial is the same. However, for arguendo, or I hate using that, not for arguendo, just arguendo, I'm willing to accept colloquial meaning general parlance. And for the people that are of the late.
Okay, general parlance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to accept that, but I don't think it's necessarily the case.
Like, for example, there's a general thing of saying that somehow agnostics are atheists at hedging their bets. That type of,
which is stupid,
stuff.
Yeah.
But that's some people there. I think if you are somebody who is in the public eye trying to discuss issues of atheism, theism, Gnosticism, agnosticism, so forth, your statements need to be cringe-free.
Yes.
What do I mean by cringe-free? It's when you say something and an expert goes, well, not exactly. On the other hand, you can't be hyper pedantic.
I agree with that too. Somebody asked me, I just went to looked up Dr. Malik. He has a PhD in chemical engineering. That is true. How does chemical engineering relate to philosophy, and why was he so many mentions of source? Because he wrote a philosophical paper in a philosophical journal. Even though his PhD is in chemical engineering, he still is a philosopher that writes in philosophical journals. His paper was called "Defining Atheism and the Burden of Proof." So he's published in a philosophical journal. Just because you have a PhD in something else doesn't mean you can't write for another journal, right? He's still published. It's still peer reviewed.
So somebody who's really good at their field is able to speak about their field in simple terms without being extraordinarily incorrect. I mean, that's one of the great things that Feynman talked about, was he was able to describe complex stuff like quantum electrodynamics in a simple way using non-technical terms, and he wasn't sacrificing the validity of his statement.
Did you ever save anything from did Feynman ever give you anything? Did you ever say anything?
Yeah, I have some stuff. Yes.
Yeah. That would be awesome. Can you imagine having something from Feynman?
But again, it's so that's the challenge. It's one thing for somebody to be hyper correct, another thing for you to be able to say it in simple terms, to describe atheism and agnosticism to somebody who's not an expert in ways that don't cause an expert to cringe because you're stretching the truth. That's probably, I can see somebody who doesn't understand, doesn't care, using that, again, the agnostic is the sort of atheist. But if you're trying to put out a message and talk about those things, try to be cringe-free.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Yeah.
So that's kind of the sad thing, is if you end up valuing your public online persona, and we both know of people that are in this code, it's sad, right? And those people will criticize somebody, that they disagree with, but in fact they are almost largely equivalent to. Yeah, and again, another example. I hate to draw parallels, but that somebody who is impervious to logic, we laugh at, but somebody who is so-called revered doesn't. That's I think that's sad, right? And so
yeah. Well, I also think it's sad that when there's objective measure to be had, all Matt Dillahunty to do is to show that I'm wrong and show my logic's wrong. That's it. That's right. Because the guy that he actually promoted his video today, saying that, hey, this is where I stand with Steve McRae. The guy that he promoted sucks at logic. I mean, Malpass had actually said this guy, it just doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, and he's been shot on for logic. And by the way, I have it from the guy saying at one point, Steve, you are absolutely right on this. He admitted that my logic was right. He just trolls. He doesn't care. He doesn't give he's all about the trolls. That's it. Okay, so sure. Matt Dillahunty is literally promoting a troll just because the troll is sucking him. It's the only reason. So all Matt Dillahunty has to do is say, here's Steve's logic, here's my logic, which one's correct, and let people evaluate it. Landon, as a scientist, isn't that something that we should want to promote? Here's my position.
Yes.
Here's positions. Let's objectively look at the case, not him taking my positions and strawmanning them and changing them, because you can always burn down an effigy. That's easy.
A good scientist, when they're shown to be wrong, thanks the person for bringing it to their attention. Let me say that again. A good scientist who is shown to be wrong thanks the person who brings it to their attention, because they don't want to be wrong.
Yeah, by the way, Mark, you're talking about the wrong Malik. Malik doesn't have a degree in philosophy, and he's not dead. I just talked to him last year.
And that's the thing. So somebody, if you put forth a hypothesis and someone shows this a severe problem with it, you should be grateful, because you can learn and you don't promote something which is been demonstrated to be.
All right. Again, I agree with you. So let me ask you this: let's go back to our canonical example of 0.99 repeat. That is something that is not easy for the average person. We're going to call them. I don't want to use the word lay people because I'm a lay person. You're not. You're a professional, but I'm a lay person. So what do you think is a good term for somebody like myself that has gone to some education, but I'm not professional in this. I'm not a scientist, although I did. I train people to operate nuclear power plants. I've got some education on my belt. But
educated.
I'm not even that educated. I got enough for a bachelor's degree.
You may not even have a formal education, but you're educated.
You think so?
You study, you learn, you continue to educate yourself.
Okay, I'm going to go with that.
Okay, so you don't have a degree, you don't have a PhD in philosophy, but you're educated in philosophy, and you've learned. And you
How about this?
And
Landon, I'm not as dumb as even some of the people you probably know with degrees. How about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's not easy for people who are not educated in these topics to get 0.98 one. But if they say, look, I got a mathematician like Landon, a very well-respected mathematician who had 2 world's record before he was 18 in math, and he's telling me this is the case. Maybe there's something to it. Let's try to learn it, right? That is what I consider to be open-minded and honest.
Yes.
Now, if you and I make a mathematical proof, which I can do, I have the skill set to make a mathematical proof in calculus, then that's the case.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I show this mathematical proof to somebody, and they don't get it. But I say, okay, let me make it easier. And I give them a geometric progression, or I give them an algebraic one. Something's really simple, and they still don't get it. And eventually they go, what, Steve? I don't believe you. And I go, okay, fine, whatever. You don't have the ability to understand. I get that. Not everybody does. I'm not trying to demean it. You probably don't have a very high IQ. Whatever it is, right? Joke, but not really. But then they say, then they say this, Landon. They say, Steve, you're wrong. Not just I don't believe you. You're wrong. Then we're in a whole different category, because now they have to demonstrate why I'm wrong.
That's in fact, it's dangerous to say something is wrong. The better way to do it is if it doesn't sound right, to say I'm confused, or I don't understand, or I need more explanation, or I'm busy.
Yep.
But to say something is wrong places perhaps sort of an implied burden on you to say why, particularly doing it in a public forum.
Yeah, and by the way, X earlier said the same thing. He said he made a good argument, and he's right, by the way. He said, on talk heathens, they say, look, we're not saying that gods don't exist. We're just saying that we don't believe you. But at the very end of everything they say is, hey, look, we're not saying we're not saying we hate you. We're just saying you're wrong.
You're wrong. Yeah, they say it at the end of every show. Yep.
Right, and so if you say that you're wrong, you're saying that the negation is the case. You're not just saying I don't believe you. Landry, do you agree as a logistician? And I'm going to put you as a logistician because you know logics. Would that be the case?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Now you don't want to do the flat earth thing of saying, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this, problem. But okay, what's your model? Duh, right? That's not that's not the way to about an argument. So in some ways, if someone's going to say to Steve, you're wrong on the philosophical point, then it's a burden to them to prove it, and even there's implied burden to say, and here's what is correct.
I would love that.
That's the honest way.
I would love that. How come Matt Dillahunty has never done that, nor has Aaron Raw, nor has anybody from the ACA ever bothered to do that? And by the way, in their Discord, their admins, a couple of them actually fully agree with me on this. So this is not something that is against the ACA or Matt Dillahunty's individuals. I like the ACA Discord. I think there's some good people to have conversations over there with. So
just don't ask the wrong question. I got banned for asking. Never mind.
Does it make a difference that they say at the end of Talk Heathen, we don't hate you, we just think that you're wrong?
No, because here's the reason. And I don't think, is that what they say? They think you're wrong?
That is what they say.
It doesn't matter.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Let's assume that's the case.
We just think that you're wrong. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's
I'm gonna toss. This isn't quite. Do you know what a heuristic approach is? Ever heard of that, server? A heuristic approach is basically, look, this is not technically correct, but go with it because it's easier to understand. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So everything I say from here on out for the next 1 to 2 minutes is not technically correct, and anybody who knows these topics is going to go, Steve, you're an idiot. But whatever. It's the only easiest way I can describe it. There is something that's called deflationary theory of truth. And the deflationary theory of truth, this part is correct. If I say it is true, the snow is white, that deflates down to just the snow is white. So if I say snow is white, or I say it is true the snow is white, it doesn't change anything. There's nothing to be added. There's no value to be added between those two statements. Both of them are making a claim that is the case, that the snow is right. Right? There's no truth makers in inflationary claims. It's not you're comparing it to some kind of truth maker that exists ontologically, where you say, well, truth corresponds to reality. That's fine for correspondence theory of truth. It doesn't work for deflationary theory. No truth makers in it. But given the idea that it is true that snow is white, as compared to just saying snow is white, there's no difference. Same thing here. If I say I think snow is white, or I believe snow is white, I am making the claim that snow is white. Now, there's an unfortunate byproduct of the English language, which again, I'll be talking to Dr. Jones about this, that when we say words like believe or think, some people think we're hedging our bets, right? There seems to be what's called a perlocutionary act, which is what the hearer hears, right? So you have three things in speech act, really. You have what's called a locution, which means what I'm saying, right? My actual words. You have illocution, which is the intent of my words, and you have the perlocution, which is the effect upon the listener. And there's an unfortunate thing in the English language for a perlocutionary effect that when you say, I think it's the case, people interpret that as you're not sure.
I know.
No.
But if you're communicating to the public, perlocution is critical.
Absolutely. So, Serv, if I say, hey, Serv, are you going to the party tonight? And you say, I think I'm not going. To me, right? I'm going to be like, was he not sure that he's going? What's the case? Now, this is called negation raising, by the way. If you say, I do not believe that I'm going. How about this? If you say, I don't believe that I'm going, or I don't think that I'm going, right? The perlocutionary effect is called negation raising or neg raising, where you take that do not believe and you raise it to a belief. So if I say, hey, are you going to the party tonight? And you say, well, I don't believe I'm going. I'm going to interpret that as you're not going to the party, right? Even though that's not what you said. You said you don't believe you're going to go to the party, right? But you still may go. Right? You just haven't decided yet, right? Maybe. Rather than you've already decided. So same thing if I ask you, hey, server, what time is it? And you say, hey, Steve, I think it's 3 a.m. What is
Yeah, but that's not how people talk.
Well,
I have the same issue in my own personal life with communicating with people, being autistic myself. I look at words literally
but let's say
in this way, and I get me in a lot of trouble.
I'm seeing something of a not always in here where this applies in probably the majority of cases. And I think for the sake of Talk Heathen, it's pretty much just a show slogan of a kind.
I get that, but by them saying you're wrong, they're saying
it's a catchy phrase,
Yes. Now, by the way,
it's a catchy phrase, but if you think about it, That's not even
called
what
it,
they
it's called an
say during
idiom
the
or
show.
aphorism, and idioms or aphorisms are
Yeah.
not always
Yeah.
the case.
By the way,
No,
I
okay.
apologize to somebody that I've talked over. There's a little bit of delay, so if I've talked over you, it wasn't. I apologize. I didn't mean to do that. So
Yeah, it kind of sounds like you're talking from the end of a hallway too.
sorry.
I mean, not
Yeah,
really
I've got
big
a- I
deal.
got
We
a
can
mic
understand you,
too.
but it just kind of sounds a little bit weird. I mean, anyway.
Server though, do you get though if I say to you what time is it, and he's like, well, you know what, I don't have a watch, but I think it's 2 a.m. Right?
Well, I think in that case, it's actually that makes sense.
Because
That's correct.
you are conveying a sense of, hey, I'm not quite sure, but when you say that, I think it is the case, you believe it, right? I think it is true. It means I believe that it's true, even though you may not actually believe that it's true. You might. It's again, words and logic are not always interchangeable with each
Right.
other. In fact, Landon could tell you right now, natural language could be verted into first order logic many different ways, but first order logic can only be conversely translated into natural language one way, or else it wouldn't be logical.
Yeah,
Exactly.
maybe I'm just subscribing too much to their position of this simple sort of one-liner that they have at the end of their show. But my distinction, right? But my distinction, I'm thinking, is more along the lines of they're not saying that they have any proof that they're wrong, because of course you can't.
Why not?
Prove,
well, evidence.
you
can have evidence against it, right? If you're asserting gods don't exist.
Yeah, they are making a burden. They're having a burden of proof by saying we think that you're wrong.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
And I argue we have a burden of proof, even if you just say I don't believe you have a burden of proof. It's a lot easier, right? It's a lot easier.
Yeah. You have to have your burden of justification for why you believe something.
Yeah,
I get
exactly.
that.
And in epistemology,
that's kind of
they're the same thing. Yes.
Okay.
By the way, is this voice better? Someone to put it out.
That sounds better.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah,
so
that's
Landon,
definitely better.
I think that's critical
Thanks.
that people if they get anything from this particular hangout, because I do got to call it quits. I'm going to be watching that time of the month with Cheshire Vic, Sweet Heathen, and the rest of that crew over there. Go watch. It's going to be poignant, I think. But I think the best thing people take away from right now is what I just said. That to be logical, you can convert natural language into first order logic one way, but to try to change first order logic into natural language can only be done in one specific way.
Yeah.
Right. So
and this is why in science we use use mathematics, because language can be ambiguous to a fairly well.
There's something called amphibole, and amphibole is when you have something in language that can be read multiple different ways. It's amphibolous. It can be looked at this way, or if I say Landon thinks that he's hot. Now, do I mean he as in Landon, or I leave he as in server? Right? I mean, what is he?
And hot as in temperature, or hot as in social blah blah blah.
Exactly.
And on.
Right.
Right. This is why in
amphibolious.
Science, mathematics isn't so important, right? And it's and the other thing to take away is it's okay to be wrong, but it's unfortunate to be stubborn about it.
I agree. God damn, I agree.
Yeah.
By the way, this is why Landon is seriously my favorite person in the world to talk about this stuff. Even though he's not big into philosophy, he has a critical mind, and what we do on these channels is we want to promote critical thinking. That's the big. This has fuck all to do with Matt Dillahunty, to be honest with you guys. It really doesn't. This is not me having some slide against Matt.
That's right. Fuck Matt Dillahunty.
Fuck Matt Dillahunty. This is not a personal thing with Matt. This is about critical thinking, which Cheshire and I do every Monday. We have Caffeine Corner. We talk about critical thinking stuff. Landon and I do a show called Defcon 1 Science. I had the Non Sequitur show, which we have, it's still in civil litigation. I've already won by default. We're asking for well over $100,000 in settlement and the channel back. We're not messing around. So, this is about critical thinking. Matt Dillahunty right now is not being a critical thinker. And I think that people that are
he's become lazy, intellectually lazy. Would that be correct?
But the people that are tribalistic, they're just saying Matt's right, and they're not able to demonstrate that I'm wrong, and they only have to strawman me. You guys are not critical thinkers. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. If you don't know my arguments, go ask thousands of people that have listened to them. Okay? Thousands of people. Go now. Landon at this point, he hates this shit. And he can explain it at least to you, right?
Yeah. And so at some point, Steve, I want to have that second order discussion.
I would love
the nuances. It's just like saying, talk about black holes and do something more than ooh wow.
Well, thing,
having a second order thing would be fun to do.
I would love that
because I have some questions, but I don't.
But I'm going to bring an expert though. but hey, even on black holes, you got to admit, my recollection of black holes is pretty damn good for not really reading about black holes for a long time.
That's why I refer to you as an educated person.
I appreciate that, man. You know, again, I want to make this very clear. This has fuck all to do with ego or anything like that. I know I didn't finish my degree. I recognize that. And I know I have a lot of trolls that will sit there and badmouth me because of where I worked. Because I was, store manager, I was an assistant district manager and operations manager. I was in retail, right? But I also did train people to operate nuclear power plants. I did have to go to school. But in the long story short, I'm not as educated as somebody like Landon or people that I talk to. I get that. But when people disparage me and try to attack my character and assassinate my character merely because they cannot address the arguments, more and more people are realizing this, and more people are standing up for it and saying enough. For those of you to do that, those of you who say enough, stop bullshitting, stop lying about Steve, stop character assassinating him. If you think he's wrong, then demonstrate it. I appreciate every one of you who do that. Every single one of you. Because that's what critical thinking is about. This channel and my other channel, the Great Debate Community, and soon to be Non Sequitur Show when I get that back, that's what we're going to be promoting. Critical thinking. I'm not here to promote an ideology. I'm not here to promote atheism or theism. I'm here to want to think better. And I want other people to think better. So that's our goal. And Lan and I will be doing our show, DEFCON 1 Science more, when he gets a chance.
Yes, yep.
Hiatus. Yep. Absolutely.
Yep.
So.
But I say, and again, it's one of the reasons why I don't mind talking to atheists, but I tend to avoid atheist communities or atheist
I don't blame you, brother.
conventions.
Yeah, I don't blame
because it seems like those two get, I don't know what it is about atheist so-called conventions.
Because they're
but I've not had
Some
a good
people
experience.
treat it as another religion.
Yeah, it's a religion almost.
Yeah,
and by the way,
exactly.
Most of my
Dogma.
audience.
Yep.
Well, I mean,
You need three thinkers.
I have
like Steve.
I have 100 Patreons right now, and it has dropped a little bit, but it's 100 is pretty good Patreons. I also have members of the channel. Most of those, I would say that if I had to place a guess, 95% of those demographically are atheists, and I mean in the hard sense. I mean, most of them are some of them are agnostic and they admit to it, but almost all non-believers. I'll say 95% of the non-believers. I have very few theists that are patrons to me, but I have a lot of theists that support this channel. S.A. Thompson supports this channel. Eric Hernandez supports this channel. Capture Christianity. A lot of them support me because I've been an honest interlocutor with them, and they know that I will give them the same respect that I'll give anybody else, even if I disagree with them, as long as they're being honest in their communication. And so I will attack their arguments as presented, just like I will anybody else's. But anyways, I do got to wrap it up, guys. Thank you guys very much for this, and let me know what you think. Leave a comment in the video description. I do want to thank Landon for stopping by. That was a nice, pleasant surprise. But
thank you.
All the people that watch this can safely say, look, anybody, Matt, this is not about Matt. Not about Matt. About critical thinking. And I will, next time, I'll read the open letter to him, and then probably after that, I'll do the Gumballs and God, and we'll go through it. But tonight, go watch Cheshire's Vic channel. That time of the month, it's going to be brutal, I think. And I want everybody to know that Cheshire is my co-host. I stand by her 100%. If she thinks she's been slighted, there has been reasons for it. And I also stand by Sweet Heathen. And everything I do is going to be because of that. I love Sweet Heathen with all my heart. She has been an amazing friend to me. I love the fact that we get to hang out every 3 months or 4 months, except for this COVID crap. But I adore her, and I'm not going to let people treat her like shit. So I thought I'd throw that out there because a lot of people to get to me are going after her. And that is vile. These trolls are going after the woman I love because she happens to be friends with me. And that, to me, is beyond the pale. And by the way, one of those people is the person that Matt Dillahunty is promoting. And that is personal. Good night.
You are a stand-up guy, Steve. Really appreciate the conversation. Our second conversation.